All in the chat. The party has started.
And we are live.
Is Beyond the Gates a good soap opera? Part two. Okay, okay.
And we are live, people.
Maybe Jabot will come on. All right, everybody, live from Monday night. It is the man, the one, the only, Albert Bostic, co CEO of Bostic Enterprises, and is the one, the only DC Soap Sanctuary of Sanctuary Production, guys. How are you, Mr. Bostic?
Oh, good. How are you doing?
I've been good. Finals weeks is now over. I can get to unwind. No more sessions, no more finals. I can breathe this week. I even did a review today on Beyond the Gates.
I saw.
So,
I saw. I didn't get a chance to watch it yet, but I saw it up though.
yes. It's on last week's Beyond the Gates. So, it's a whole week in review from last week. I haven't actually. So, I was watching the soaps earlier, like Days and GH to catch up since I know it's going to be on today. But I haven't seen today's Beyond the Gates. But I'm okay with spoilers because I already know what time it is when I come on here.
You should.
So I'm feeling good today. It feels good to be back in. I don't know, it just feels good because I feel like when you're taking in people's problems, you're in a whole program about mental health and people, blah blah blah. It's like I miss a sanctuary because literally it's like my sanctuary. And I got to see Marlon Wayans too over the weekend. So that was also another sanctuary that I got to have. Yeah.
Really? How was that?
That was good. I definitely could not take most of my classmates to a show like that just because of the content. Um, it was good. You can tell that he's still having trouble accepting his trans son because that was like the whole entire bit. So it felt like a therapy session for him, low key. Okay, low key.
Wait, what's going on inside? I didn't know anything about his son. His son is.
So his son is transgender. He has two sons, one biological, one transgender. And basically the whole bit was like his process. I mean, there's humor in there. He was like he gave humor like when his son said to him, "Oh, my pronouns are he and they." He goes, "They." So there's two of you. So, so there was some humor put in there, but it was good overall, and I needed that because when you're in a program that's like so serious and you know couple therapy and mental health, I needed a break, and I miss those sanctuaries. So I think next semester, like which is literally in the next week and a half, I want to reincorporate Soul Sanctuary like at least once every 2 weeks because then I'll just start doing reviews in my car, and then I put the graphics and stuff later because sometimes I just don't have time to record from home. So I miss it. It's good to be back, eh?
Yeah. It's funny. Yesterday it was me and Dion. We did our collab and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
we got a couple
okay.
of things going on. Yeah, it was
Okay.
fun.
How is he?
It was No, it was fun. It was, because we talked about Drew and everything like that. There's a running joke with us. Every time I come in Dion's chat, he's always talking about Drew. I always come in there be like, "Oh, Drew's a good man" or whatever, and that's kind of like our little thing or whatever. So we joked about it yesterday. It was fun. If I didn't check it out, I well, it's posted, so definitely check it out. It was a fun time.
Okay, I know. Wait, that was members only though.
No, no, that was for everyone.
Oh, general
I did too.
population.
Yeah, yeah, I did two streams that day.
Wait, one for him members and then one regular.
hmm
What was the members stream like with him?
No, well, no, 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 no. No, the general population was with Dion. I
Okay,
did the members, but yeah. So
I love GH Envy. I love Dion. Mm-hmm.
yeah, no, he's awesome. He's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
We're gonna plan to do something again at some point.
Okay. Have you done anything with Jabel recently?
No, but it's funny. Well, actually, it's not funny, but me, Jess, and Nikisha, and like not next week, but the week after, we're gonna do a collab. We're gonna be talking about Netflix's show called You. I don't know if you heard of it, but
Heard of it? Yeah, I've heard of it.
yeah. So we're gonna be sitting there doing that. We're gonna be talking about because it was the last season. So we finally all finished it. So we're gonna sit there and be talking about that in a couple of weeks.
They're expanding to other markets now. Okay.
Yeah. Also, Hollyoaks. I've been sitting there watching the Hollyoaks. That's been actually a lot of fun.
I knew I knew you would like Hollyoaks.
Yeah.
If you think about it in a lot of ways, I feel like the Beyond the Gates it's kind of like Hollyoaks, but not really. I feel like it's written like Hollyoaks in the sense of its realism, because I feel like Hollyoaks feels like a real show where things don't feel like over. Like no one's a secret WSB agent on Hollyoaks. Let's just put it that way. They keep
Huh.
things more grounded in reality, which I can appreciate. But then again, I can appreciate that's GH's difference too, where they have those things.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I mean, what I was gonna sit there and say, I can compare those two because while The Gates is a soap opera,
Hmm.
it also does come out also like a drama in a sense, and that's what Hollyoaks is. Hollyoaks is like a drama, but also a soap opera in a sense.
Yes, yes,
Um, and
that's
I
exactly
feel
what
like
Gates
those
did.
two are the same. Oh, well, I mean, the difference is Hollyoaks, you don't have rich people. I've not seen one rich person on that show. Like everyone is like
Living below
middle
their
class
means.
nurses,
Yeah,
teachers or whatever. Frankie's an idiot, and I don't like her.
Frankie was one of the twins, right?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay,
When was
okay.
the last time you watched Hollyoaks? Because I feel like every like now I'm watching Hollyoaks, and I sit there and I'm mentioning a name. You're just like, yo, who's that again? I'm just like, bro, when was the last time you watched? It's like now I'm watching a show.
When my
Ronnie,
precious Abe died, when my precious Abe died in a car crash after Joel chased him off, that was like the last time I really got to sat down and watch it. Poor Abe.
wait,
But
oh, or eight. Let's
but
just
my
keep.
question to you tonight is Beyond the Gates a good soap opera? Part deux. Deux, as they say in French.
It's a decent soap opera. It has
Not
its
decent.
moment.
Not decent.
It's a decent soap opera. It has its moments.
Why is it decent?
I mean, it's not. I don't know. I just
It's not GH with Sonny the muffled microphone yelling.
no. It's not even about that. Like I can't even. I take GH out the equation because GH I've been watching since I was in high school. So like I would even sit there and
Hmm.
say like maybe Days or Young and the Restless or whatever. Like it's an okay soap opera. There's certain things that just started to get a little repetitive. I'm glad they actually changing it up a little bit. The Danny stuff, I'm glad that they pulled back on. In the beginning, it was always like Danny and Bill, and Danny talking about Bill, and Bill talking about Danny. It was just like after a while, I'm like, all right. Then it was always the poor Danny this and poor Danny that, and it was just like, okay, it's kind of starting to get a little repetitive. Yeah, but it's getting better. So I am actually appreciating that.
Because I know you guys were talking last time in the chat. You felt like it was things are going a little too slow.
Yeah, then it was that too, and Samuel was actually. Do you know Samuel actually came on the he came up and he was there talking about it. And he
I
was
hear.
basically
Listen, me and
saying,
Single talk every day through notes. He did not tell me that. I'm gonna get him.
yeah, he came in
No
and we
wonder
was
he said you
sitting
didn't
down talking
understand the
about it.
gates. No wonder he told me that in voice though. He's like, Albert doesn't understand the gates as format.
Yeah, I mean, I here's the thing, like I get because the thing is, I get what he was talking about. He was like, it's a soap opera, and soap operas aren't normally moving that fast. So
Hmm.
it's like I don't know. I guess he was basically sitting there saying it's like we expect everything to just be like good all the time, but that's not how soap operas work. And I get that to some extent on a logical sense, but on an emotional sense, sometimes you're watching and you're just like, and that's with any soap opera you're watching. You're just like, and you know what? DC, could you see the chat? So this
Yeah.
way, Ron doesn't have to keep asking me to ask
Ron,
you.
Ron says, ask DC who's agreeing with Steve putting Caleb's medical license at risk. Also, Sean's reputation on line by Sumo Drug. So, Ron, I think I'm in the middle of watching that Days. I haven't seen Days for like almost 2 weeks. So, this is the first time that I started watching it in a minute. And like I saw Tate punch Johnny, I was like, that's rude. Like this guy is trying to adopt your kid. It's rude, you know? So I'm literally just catching up on Days because Days is too theatrical for me. And when you were just talking about Beyond the Gates, I personally think it's the lens in which one watches Beyond the Gates through determines whether or not every episode is good. If you're watching it for action and plot, it's not going to feel as good. But I'm watching it for character development, which it delivers for every time. So even when I'm watching other shows, I'm always watching the lens of character development, not plot. Which is why sometimes some soaps can be bringing the plots like GH, but I'm like, I'm not as impressed because where's the development? Like last week's episode, oh my god, I was in tears on Friday watching Eva. I was like, oh my god, poor Eva. I was in tears. I felt her pain. I know you didn't feel the same way, but it was a little dry. But I've been keeping up behind the scenes. I'm like
Okay,
a
all
Jill, I'm
right.
like a Jill Abbott from Vodka Horizon. I was keeping up behind the scenes,
Love it. I love it.
but it was a good episode, and it was a character development for me because even though Danny's always talking about Bill, the conversation about her and Bill does expand every episode. Whereas B&B, Brooke and Ridge are talking always about the same thing, but one day Danny's talking about Bill. She can't believe he left her. The life they had together. How could Haley do that? She was so young at the age. Like the conversation is always expanding where we're learning a new fact about how and why this dynamic is affecting Haley in a sense. And it's just a thing, like even Sean saying Albert Beyond the Gates got still after starting hot. To me, the show is still hot, but it's also a Procter and Gamble show. At the same time, Procter and Gamble shows are known for going very slow. They're a slow burn. It's like a slow dance, and I love a good slow dance. That's what intimacy should be, nice and slow, and then you work your way up to it. But everybody's in an Amazon Prime society, and everybody wants it fast. You know what I mean? Everybody wants things to come quick. No pun intended there, but everybody wants things. I really didn't mean like that when I just said it, but everybody wants things to happen rapidly. And with the show Beyond the Gates, it's really being more developed out. And I can actually appreciate that because that's why Friday's episode was so impactful because they took their time. Like some things that happen on GH, it doesn't like Drew's thing is great, but well, I can't talk too much about GH because I haven't really seen all the development behind it, but GH is trying to write, I feel like, character development storylines, which the audience is not used to. That's why GH is going at a bit of a slower pace lately. It's like it's picking up, but it's still slower than the Bob Guzzi days, you could say.
Mm.
Oh,
Let's
happy
get
season
Daniel.
audio.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that today.
So, do I think that Beyond the Gates is a great soap opera? I think it's amazing. Remember, I only gave it 1 week originally, and now I renewed their contract for another 2 months.
Mhm. I remember that because I was sitting there getting on you about that. It was like a week. You only gonna give it a week? That's 5 days, and you had your explanation, your reason why, and everything. Um, but
It delivered. How'd you feel about the reveal?
hmm? I didn't
How'd you
get a
feel
chance
about
to
the
watch
reveal?
it. No, I didn't get a chance. I literally just finished watching Young and the Restless, like
You didn't
maybe.
watch Fridays Beyond the Gates?
Oh no, no, no! I watched Fridays Beyond the Gates.
Okay, that's what I meant. Fridays Beyond the Gates.
Oh,
How'd you feel about that? That's what I meant. I was gonna say, Albert, you're a reviewer. Come on now, this is your
oh
thing.
no, no, no!
You notice you
I,
don't have
I,
no Beyond the Gates reviews though. So the past 5 days, I have noticed that for the past week though. But we'll talk about that later on.
yeah. You know what? Okay. Here's my issue with that. Um,
Hmm.
so you know what Leslie was doing? Leslie was reminding me of Jordan Howard on The Young and the Restless. The over the top, super long monologues. Like after a while, we're just like, okay,
I can tell
okay,
you start as a GH viewer, but continue. Please continue.
like
Please
okay.
continue. How was that over the top? This is how soaps were. This is
It wasn't working for me. Like it was not working for me. As says I saw your stream with Dion, and I didn't know Cameron faced hate with his character on AMC and Haley. Oh yes, yeah. I showed that a little bit.
you're comparing Leslie to Jordan Howard.
I
You
ain't comparing
listen.
that monologue.
You see, this is why I'm happy now you're watching other soaps, but sometimes I wish you would have seen classics like Reva, Shane on Guiding Light, and the classic Soletta Springfield scene. That was very similar to like Leslie's acting. You're comparing Jordan Howard?
Yep.
You must be so
I was
proud.
sitting there, it had to make sense too. It made sense to me. That's what I was sitting there thinking when I saw it. I was just like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep, she's still monologuing like a DC villain. Mm-hmm.
But listen, Leslie's monologue, like I remember the first week when she came in and she said to Eva, "You are exactly where you should have been all along, in your father's house." I was like, she's got it. She's got it. It wasn't cartoonish. It was soapy, but it was subtle and it made sense. It wasn't like I'm gonna get them if that's the last thing I do. It wasn't like that. It was like you're exactly where you belong, in your father's house. And
Mm,
it was a powerful scene right there for me because the cartoonish way to write a scene like that would have been like, I'm gonna get them and they're gonna pay. That's what typically has been written on GH and Y&R. But hers was like, you're exactly where you belong in your father's house. Like you are exactly where you should be in your rightful throne. That felt more natural and realistic to me. And with Leslie, I actually felt for her at the end of Friday's episode. I had a soft spot for her in my heart.
okay.
Because when she mentioned how Bill Hamilton paid her to go out of town and have the abortion, I was like, damn. And I didn't know it was Bill. I know that Bill was like the only other lawyer in town, but I never really connected the dots, to be honest, because I've never seen Ted and Bill ever really even talk. So when I was like, oh my, and I felt for her in that moment. I felt for Eva the most. I felt for Eva, Leslie, and I felt for Ted. I'm starting to slowly feel for Nicole. It's getting there.
Mm. I don't know. I didn't feel for. Here's my thing. I felt for Leslie and then I didn't feel for Leslie because like yes, I understood the initial threat and everything like that and you had to go away and stuff like that. But then I was also just like essentially you just weaponize your own daughter.
She
That's what
did.
you did. You literally like at some point she could have sat there and tried to reach out to Ted or whatever when she became a little more older, or whatever. And instead you just wanted your revenge. So you deny your child, um, you know, her father and everything like that because you want to sit there and make it about you. So no,
But
no.
Leslie did what a lot of people do nowadays is that they can't help but see anything but through the lens of their trauma. And unfortunately, her daughter Eva became collateral damage. That's where the selfishness kicked in. That's what happens when people don't deal with their stuff. You can only see things through those lens, and everybody else becomes collateral damage to the asset. I mean, the way she called Eva a traitor, it was hurtful. I'm like, damn, that's your daughter, yo. And Eva has like nobody. It's like she's alone. And I felt for Eva. My heart broke for her. But Tristan Mann really gave. I agree with Samuel. Tristan Mann gave a great performance. That was Emmy classic soap right there. She's like, what a hoot! It was classic, and I could see how it could remind you of Jordan Howard. And I think that that's how so many soaps have been written. But I honestly think that this was to me classic Procter and Gamble, classic Reva Shane. I baptized myself. That's a lot of Springfield. That's what it was giving to me. That's what it was giving.
Hmm, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I just like I said, I had it, and then even today, because like I know you didn't watch it, but then the thing is, I sat there and I thought about Eva, whatever. I was like, listen, she got caught up in all this other stuff and everything, and I'm sitting there watching it, and Kat was like, at some point you could have sat there and said something. You could have warned us. We took you in or whatever. Like you could have said something. You know what I'm saying? Basically, she was like, don't sit there and try to act like you're a victim because you're just a part. You're just as a part of this whole thing. And yeah, she felt bad for what she was doing, but you still did it though. So like, I, I'm like, as much as I don't like Cat, I'm like, yeah, Cat made a lot of sense today. So let's move on because it's gonna get into a back and forth, and I'm just like, bro, you sat there because I'm like, you sat there and you were sitting there talking about poor Abe who's actually essayed women and stuff like that, like which. Honestly, tell you the truth, I don't have sympathy for anyone that does that, but you're a different person.
But you
So
got sympathy. But there's somebody you do have sympathy for, though.
actually, are you gonna tell? Oh, so you're gonna tell me who I have sympathy for now?
You want to know who?
Yeah, sure.
You have sympathy for a man who wears a black shirt every day on his show, who kills people for a living, who is a hitman. So I'm just wondering what makes him hire characters like
Well,
the
okay,
guy
here's
Jason.
the thing. No, but I mean, here's the thing though. Like, once the murder of a soul, like I feel like that's worse than actually unaliving someone. In my personal opinion. My personal opinion. I feel like that's the murder of a soul. So.
You see, this is how I know about GX viewers, the diehards. Y'all have double standards. I be noticing that.
Well, the thing is, like, I did. I mean, well, I mean, here's the. I get that you don't watch like all my reviews and stuff like that, but like, I go at Jason, I go at Sunny, I go at
Once every
EJ.
6 months.
Anyway, like I said, I go at different people all the time. So like, I like I said, no one is spared the ride when it comes towards me.
But you did admit that Jason is your guy, correct? Did you not admit that?
I like Jason as a character, but I'm not gonna sit there and say that. I mean, and that's the thing though, like so I'll sit there and talk about like Jason, I'll talk about Drew and stuff like that. I'm like, people want to sit there and act like Drew is this horrible person, but like Jason kills people for a living. So let's not sit there and try to compare. You know what I'm saying? Like, people because people think like, oh, Jason is better than Drew. I'm like, he kills people for a living. Let's
So you
let's not.
discontinued your subscription to Jason Kool-Aid. Okay. Okay, I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see it. Okay. Because honestly, that is a hard thing for me watching General Hospital is how Drew is so much worse. Like even hearing Tracy saying that, like, yeah, me and Jason, we've gotten to a better place. I'm like, what? Like Drew slept with Michael's wife and that was terrible. But I still don't see how that makes Jason so much better when Jason is taking people's lives on a regular basis. And
You
Jason
know what?
barely acknowledges his own son.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's the thing though. Like, I always sat there and I always, something that always really rubbed me the wrong way was that I felt like Jason always put Michael above his own kids.
He did.
Like that always rubbed me the wrong way. Like, and it will still sit there and rub me the wrong way. And even when I sit there and say things like, people would sit there and act like Drew's a horrible person, but I'm like, but y'all sit there and romanticize Luke Spencer. Like, you're gonna sit there and say that Luke Spencer was just this great person where he essayed Laura, but Drew's a horrible person. Get the f up out of here. That's what we're not gonna be doing.
Jason
So
loves Michael because Michael's attached to Carly. Anything that's attached to Carly gets a great place in Jason's mind. Anything that's not attached to Carly is whatever. Like that scene when he came back and Danny found him at the boathouse and Danny walks out the door. He goes, Danny. He goes, yeah, Dad. Don't forget to close the door. I was like, damn.
mm,
I know you guys remember that scene, right?
remember that. And it says, but now Eva locked out while her mom was eating ice cream. That happened today, or I don't remember that.
Because Beyond the Gates, to me, I was very concerned with the show. I wasn't sure where it was going to go in, but the direction of the show has been tremendous. It's giving me All My Children vibes. I know you didn't watch All My Children or One Life to Live, and that's why they both got canceled. But it reminds me of the nostalgia of what those shows were. It really does. So Kyrie's got a question.
Yes, and I'm putting up there right now.
DC, what do you think of the way Nikki treated Audra? Albert is such a Nikki Newman fan. I don't even remember his response, and Drew still sucks. You know, with Audra, I started watching Wine today, and I'm like, so Nick, once again, Victor is the mystery investor. Why is Victor always behind everything? Seriously, why couldn't it have been Mamie? Why couldn't it be anybody else with Victor? And now Kyle's like, I wonder who's going Audra. Like, does Victor have to be behind every storyline? Even the whole Michael and Lauren fighting over Victor and Jack's beef and Victor needing to humiliate Kyle. I'm like, man, Victor is an old ass man. Like, when do you do something different with yourself? I don't know any other. Even Stefano at some point in time gave it a rest with the Brady's. At some point in time, he gave it a rest. So, like, when does Victor move on? You know, like it just feels so overly ignited. So with Audra, I like that Audra, they're branching her out with Sally, but I also feel like the writers are still trying to figure out what to do with Audra. They're still trying to figure out where to place her. So they're testing her out in different things right now.
What's good, Alyssa? It's good to see you. It's actually really funny though.
Mm-hmm.
There was a couple. Oh yeah, you was there, I think. there was a day where they had Kyrie, and what's good, Big Nate? They had two Kyrises. One was Kyrese Wilson, and they had another person named Albert Larson,
Mm-hmm.
and they had somebody named Alyssa
Oh, the two
Jefferson.
Kyrises, right? Those are two Kyrises I
Yeah,
did.
exactly. Yes, exactly. It had
It
two
was giving
Kyrises.
WSB vibes. That's what it was giving. It was given. Dolomenic says, yes, I keep saying Beyond the Gates is a spiritual successor to All My Children. Yes, Beyond the Gates has Julie Hannon Carruthers, which I remember when I first watched All My Children. She was executive producer of All My Children at the time, Julie Hannon Carruthers. So I think that's the All My Children touch that's there. Because Beyond the Gates is written so beautifully that I watch it every day. It reminds me of Guiding Light 2003. It's giving a little As Well Turns because, As Well Turns was about the professionals. Nobody in As Well Turns had a big business. There was no enterprises. There was no Newman Media. There was no Titan Industry. There was none of that stuff. And I like that Beyond the Gates is not doing that either. And then what I liked about Beyond the Gates is they have the character development of All My Children. They have the the eye candy of All My Children on the show where you're actually invested in all of these characters, and the storylines are also unique that I'm interested. I'm interested in Marty and Smitty. Like, what does that look like in a relationship where it's two men and one of them are staying at home, being a house husband, but yet how do you guys navigate that? We're looking at Chelsea navigate her own career, then her own identity, then even Anita. What is it like when you leave a legacy, but when you're still trying to recreate that same phenomenon of who you used to be, knowing that now you're in a different space in life? What are those areas of our lives like? Even we look at Tomas. Tomas is a really good guy, but he's also trying to work his way up in the world. This is probably why Tomas resonates with Eva probably more than Kat, because Eva understands the journey. Kat hasn't had to have a journey. Things have been laid out for her. So even
Yeah.
when Tomas was just kind of like, oh, I think he was asking Kat for some kind of inside information. It came off sneaky, but he's trying to make it. And that's why he said to Kat, like, I don't agree with everything Bill does, but he's one of the top law firms. I need to make a name for myself. And Kat doesn't understand that because she already has a name, Dupree.
Yeah. Kyrie said, there was only one known Nikki Newman fan, Albert June Kane's Albert June Kane, Nikki Newman Bostic. God damn, that's a lot of
It's
names.
Albert AJ Quarterman Bostic, Iris. Come on now. Albert Brady Black Bostic. Now he got
Yeah.
rid of the mysterious red cup. Now it's the mysterious gold cup now.
See, I got some new cups today. But
So he's slowly clearing it up. But the development on Beyond the Gates, I think, it's top tier. And I spoke about this, I think, with Samuel a while back ago, where I was like, we speculate on Haley being Leslie's daughter. And think about the irony of that. Of the same child that Bill Hamilton was trying to get Leslie to push to have an abortion is the same child he might have married. If if Haley is Leslie's daughter,
okay.
right? And then we talked about how maybe like Eva could be Nicole and Ted's daughter, which through some miscarriage or something, I'll allow it. The judge is saying court, okay, I'll allow it. I want to see where this goes. So I'll allow it. But if Haley is Leslie's daughter, would make a lot of sense. Like Leslie's daughter with Ted, that would make a lot of sense. And then imagine that the same child that Bill Hamilton paid for her to get an abortion with is the same child he married. And that's something. The irony in that. And then imagine Haley having to deal with that. Like, you're the man that told my mom to get rid of me. And if you succeed, I wouldn't even be here. But yet I married you. And I even have a kid by you? The feelings that could come up from that. Because I talked about this in my review. Eva is Nicole's Haley. Because Haley came in, this orphan girl, I don't have nobody. Bill and Danny saw her as a daughter, even though Bill married that daughter figure. And Eva's the same way. Nicole and Ted are starting to see her as almost like another daughter. And yet she caused all this havoc for them. So she's like Nicole's Haley in a way.
Yes,
Look
I
at
can
this.
see that.
That's what Eva represents right now. And Eva's having to deal from that fallout. And I think she started to realize that the Duprees were not as bad as she thought they were. She stopped seeing things with the trauma of her mom's. She stopped seeing things through the lens of her mother's trauma because her experiences with the Duprees have challenged that. That's why sometimes when people go through really hard trauma, yes, you have to like reframe your mind and maybe go to therapy and do all those things, but sometimes you just need a different experience to overwrite that code that's been in you for so long. You need a different experience. And so Eva got a different experience of the Duprees. So this story that her mom is telling her, like, and the thing is, Leslie's trauma is still valid, but that's not the experience Nicole is having. No, I'm sorry, that's not the experience Eva's having with the Duprees. She's
Yeah.
not seeing them as these nefarious people. So now that is being challenged in her mind because she's like, wait a minute, you're telling me this one thing, but I'm seeing this. I'm experiencing this with them.
Hmm.
Why does everybody think Martin has ticking time bomb issues and he's a narcissist? Can we talk about that? Why does everybody think that?
Yes, it's funny because Ed actually brought that up. Ed said, I get Martin's anger, but he should give his dad grace because he's in a similar position, his father, and with having a secret that can destroy the family he has and a secret Bill knows too.
I wonder
Now
what's that
it's
secret.
it's funny. It's funny. Now Wink brought up something, right?
Mm-hmm.
She brought up what did she bring up? She said that Martin was abusing Smitty, right? Like from a verbal standpoint, um, or mentally abusing him. And I think you asked why. That's he was like because he was like why. That's what she said. Why do you have that look on your face?
Was this a theory or they're saying outright that Martin abused Smitty?
No, no, no. That's what she was saying. She was like, you were in the chat at the time, and that's why you said you was like how.
Okay,
And
okay, I
part of
think
me
I
was
remember that. Yeah.
and part of me was a little kind of confused, but then I thought about it. I was like, here's the thing. When it comes towards mental abuse, so or verbal abuse, whatever. Most people think like when you're verbally abusing somebody, you're like yelling, you're shouting, you're like da 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 da. But in reality, it's not always that. It's not always the case. Queen Akeisha.
The Alexis Davis of the chat.
Exactly.
Okay. So then you're right because it's true that verbal abuse, emotional abuse is not always yelling and those things. But tell me how you're saying we're saying that Martin verbally or emotionally abused, mentally abused Smitty as evidenced by what is what I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't say that. That's what Wink said. I, you gotta ask Wink when she comes to the chat, but that's what she was saying.
That's
And
my
also
professor always says to the program, as evidenced by what? That's all I'm asking. I'm not saying it did happen, but as evidenced by what? That's what I want to know is as evidenced by what? You know what I'm saying? So I because here's the thing, I don't get the sense that Martin is controlling, at least not now. I don't think Martin is a narcissist, and he doesn't fit the DSM criteria for a narcissist either. I know people will use that term
yes,
narcissist.
that's exactly what they were saying. I was wondering that too, Nikisha. I sat there, was like, there's something missing. But Nikisha, I was sitting there telling people in the chat in DC that we're gonna be talking about in 2 weeks, you. And also I watched the first episode of Paradise, which I'm very intrigued by the rest of the show. So I'll say that much.
Because with Martin and Smitty, what I think is possible is I think Martin could have had an affair and something happened that night where someone got hurt and killed. So it's a double entendre. And so it's not going to affect him and Smitty. It's going to affect everybody else. It's going to affect his kids. Because I agree with Vernon. It's like, why would you run for president? When you know you got a scandal, that's when you need to calm down. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, and that's my whole thing. Like I couldn't tell, and I'm glad you got to that because I was like, I couldn't tell if he remembered. What's good, Jakars? I couldn't tell if he remembered. Um, yes, Nikisha, and I got. Well, I'll message you, but
ooh, look at Kyrie's getting as
what is
evidence by
that?
Kyrie says, as evidence by what we saw in the show, him getting in his face, shutting down his attempt to return to work, going behind his back, snapping on him every few hours, storming. That's how Martin is abusive. Now, the way I saw it for me was like, okay, Martin is very bothered by Smitty going to work, but I'm like, what does that mean to him for Smitty to go back to work? So, for example, like there's some men out there who let's say even for like a heterosexual relationship, some men who would be bothered about like their wives going to work or going to school. And for some of them, deep down inside, it might not necessarily be that they're insecure or controlling, but when you look at meaning, it can change the whole way you look at this whole thing. So if the meaning is I need you to do what I say and do, and I need to make sure that you're under my control, that you continue listening to me, okay, then we can go into possibly an avenue of abuse, because another form of abuse is control. But if it's really about I'm concerned that you won't want to be with me anymore, you won't be with a man that's maybe uneducated, or you feel like you're better than me, or making more money than me, or you'll leave me, or maybe for him, for Martin, Smitty leaving and working again means that their dynamics will change, and he just doesn't know what that means. It's just the unknown. But once him and Smitty talked about it, they were good. So that's I'm like, is it still control though? Because once Smitty and Martin got to the meaning of what that meant for Martin, they were good. And I agree with Alyssa. They do need a new family, but Alyssa, I think it's coming. They're just not trying to get this Dupree settled for right now. But I think it's coming. I think it's coming. Hey, you curious? Hey.
Was good, Jakiris, and Ed got a question for you.
But does that make sense though, Albert, when I say that?
No, I can say that.
Okay. Ed had a question. Yes, Albert, can you? Oh, I'm over here going to the chat right this speed. Albert, can you ask to see what do you think about Doug and Vanessa marriage? I think it's superficial. It's a very superficial marriage. It's on the surface. There's no depth, I think, to their marriage. It's clear because there's a lack of connection that's there. Vanessa is out there with other men. She's trying to get her needs met. They have an interesting dynamic, but they did have a little bedroom scene. But this is a PNG soap. PNG soap was very conservative back in the day, so they didn't really do sex scenes or anything like that. That was kind of like their thing. Guiding Light and As Well Turns, if you notice, never really did those kind of things. ABC soaps more so. But I like Doug and Vanessa, but I just feel like Doug and Vanessa remind me of people who, like, the type of people who think once they get a degree or they have success, everything's supposed to fall into place. And they did the work on everything but themselves. And that's what now we're seeing manifest with the two of them. They did the work on everything but themselves. So, like, Doug is out here gambling and like, ooh, this is my lucky day. I can make some money. You're a surgeon. Is that not enough money? Yeah, that's not enough money.
I know. Yeah, exactly. And he's a heart surgeon. Okay,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then now he's just talking about, yeah, I'm gonna like operate as many patients as possible, as if it's like busting out shifts at McDonald's or something. It don't work like that. It's real people. You gotta like take the time. This is crazy. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but they remind me of those two people who didn't really work on themselves and who thought the status and everything else was going to be enough. This is why a lot of people find themselves, this is why a lot of professional people find themselves single. They think that when they get there and their money is right and this is right, but you're not right. And that's why you can't meet nobody. So it's like they didn't do the work on themselves. Their relationship is very surface, unfortunately. So that's what I would say about that. What about you? What would you say about them?
Let me see. Jakar says you got to catch me up. I haven't watched soaps in a month. Yeah, no, just well, watch my reviews. That will definitely catch you up. Trust me. Watch my reviews. That will catch you up. You know, okay. So, well, I mean, I've said this before. I'll sit there and say this again, right? Despite what DC says, because I know DC. Okay, I'm gonna tell you right now. DC's gonna make a face.
Oh my God, no, I'm not. I have no face.
DC's going to make a face. I look at their marriage and it's heartbreaking in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I may come across as the Victor Newman of these soap streets, but see, y'all see the pettiness right there. But I am kind of a romantic at heart, and it's actually pretty sad to sit there and see their marriage disintegrate like that, to the point where it's like he just stopped trying and she just practically checked out, right? So it's kind of sad, you know.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say it's kind of sad.
Yeah, but they're very disconnected with one another, and I think most of the marriages on the show are pretty solid, but there's no connection between them. I mean, it looks like their kids are off to school. Because some couples, once their kids get older, they realize, yo, we ain't got nothing in common, bro. Like, we ain't got nothing in common. We ain't got nothing to talk about. And that's clearly what's happening between the two of them. And Vanessa copes by having promiscuous sex. Doug copes by a gambling addiction. So it's like, it's typically what I see. Like, and you know, and I think, especially now for myself being in a lot of professional spaces, I see this a lot where a lot of people, like, they're together, but like you look at them like you don't got shit in common, do you? Besides the fact that y'all got money, you know, and that's it. There's no desire, there's no passion, there's none of those things built, and their foundation is too fragile. It's too fragile.
Okay, now Kyrie says, so before I go soon, now that you're sober, what does Naomi have to do? What does Naomi have to do be interested as a spoiled brat cat? Um, I mean, I did start drinking, but I'm still sober. Uh,
But who says she's not interesting?
oh, I okay. First of all, let's just be very clear. I set the same list that Jeff said, even though he gave Jeff the pass. I don't think that Naomi's not interesting. I just find Kat to be a little more interesting. Like, yeah, she vexes me. She gets under my skin, but she kind of reminds me of Spencer in a way. Like, as annoying as they can be, they're still interesting. Like, they don't bore me. And I don't know, maybe give Naomi a little bit more story and see where it goes. I'm not saying that she's not, you know, she's not Chelsea. So,
Naomi reminds me of, and Dolomex is gonna love this. She reminds me of Olivia Fry from My Children. Do you guys remember Olivia Fry? Albert doesn't remember because he wasn't watching. But the rest of you guys remember Olivia Fry from My Children? So Olivia Fry was Derek Fry's sister. She was a social worker. She would come from, and she was very interesting when they put her in scenes. I think Naomi, because every character can't be a Cat or a Leslie. Like Robin Scorpio, some people will say she was a boring character, but to me, Robin Scorpio actually is the best all-time character on General Hospital. Somebody has to say it. But the thing about it is that some characters, it's okay if they're subtle, because then when they give those pow pow scenes, it delivers so much more. And I think with Cat, which Cat really gets my nerves. I honestly think that Tomas is trying to see if he likes Cat, but he can see that she's just, the lights are on, but like only half the employees are home. You know what I mean?
I did check out a little bit of your update, but I gotta finish reading it down, and then I'll
Oh,
I'll,
which
I'll
is the so
message you
far?
after. I'm sorry, I'll message you after I finish reading the whole update because I was literally watching the shows when I saw your post. But I will definitely finish it and make a comment and DM you.
Because
Sorry,
you know,
what
like I
you
said,
say?
like Naomi and Jacob, like I thought Naomi was gonna be set for the trial of century for Bill over the summer, just like kind of how we thought with Christina and TJ and Molly were gonna get the trial of the century that summer, but we didn't, and they gave us something different. And I can understand that because I'm willing to see where they're gonna go. But I think that Naomi could easily become a background character, but her and Jacob are very interesting. There's still other subplots going on there, like Jacob's dad working and having ties to Joey Armstrong. Now, Joey Armstrong is the way Sonny Corinthos should be written. That's a story for another day. We won't go there right now. We will not go there because everyone knows that is my biggest grievance with GH is how like Sonny is the hero because Todd Manning was a POS on Light to Live, and we knew it. There wasn't no skating around. He was still the character, by all means, but we knew he was a POS. We all knew it, but he owned it. He owned it. And that's why we don't get on Tom Manning like that. If you notice, we get on Luke Spencer, we get on Sonny because they try to present themselves and they weren't. That's the problem.
Mm.
You see that now? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I see that. I see that.
Yep.
But I will sit there and say this much though, Chikars, if you're still in the chat, like I do understand taking a break from social media and just kind of
Oh, yeah.
unplugging because it could be taxing. It could be mentally draining. Um, I don't go to Twitter Space, so I don't deal with that group. Um, but
Twitter
I,
Space
I
is
I I get the whole you
toxic
just
with
want to
capital
just kind of
T.
do your own thing. You good?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm charging my computer. No, when I saw Jakarius' post, I really felt for him too because, like, it can be a lot. Twitter, I think, is probably one of the worst spaces, Jakarius. So, Jakarius, if you do come back, honestly, because I was on Twitter, I made a special guest appearance, and they ran me out of town. What's a soap character that's been ran out of town recently? Who's a soap character ran out of town recently?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to connect the souls, but honestly, Jakari, so you do come back on, just take a break from there, honestly. And be in spaces that are a little more supportive. I think Soap YouTube is a little bit more supportive, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but I think it's less tumultuous on here. But sorry, go ahead, Albert.
No, no, no. I was gonna sit there and say I remember I fucked it. He was on Jabone and he was talking about and I'm only gonna sit there and air this out because you're on a public space. But like you were Smith saying something about how you got kicked off of another person's um like Twitter space or whatever. You know how they do the Twitter space and they have a group of people, whatever. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what happened. Um, but just I mean, like I said, find people that's gonna sit there and accept you. I don't know the whole story, so I can't sit
But he
there and
got
say
kicked
whether
off of Twitter
your fault
Space.
or huh?
He got kicked off of Twitter Space.
Yeah, or for somebody's
Mhm.
Twitter space or whatever. And it's like I don't know. Did you say something that was out of pocket, or was they just didn't like you, whatever? But like, just find a group that is not going to be toxic or whatever. And like DC said, you got a YouTube channel, build your community, build your friendship there. You don't need to sit there and be around people that's going to kick you off for whatever reason or whatever. And like I said, Twitter is just no, I don't do Twitter. I got to tell you, I
Yeah.
don't do it.
Like I could get why he goes on there because that's where the most conversation so was happening. But the problem is like so Twitter is
Oh, Wink. Oh, Wink. Okay, you got to ask Wink that question though. But
wait, what question? I don't remember the question.
you had a question. These Ed had a comment for you, but you got a question.
Okay, oh, I think Wink. The question I was asking Wink was earlier about like you mentioned that Martin is abusive to Smitty, and I just wanted to know is evidence by what? I'm not saying I disagree, but like what is the evidence behind that, just so I can understand that thought process. All right, so Ed the Bank says, DC, what do you think about Chelsea's storyline with the married couple? Do you see her falling hard for the wife and ending badly? Yeah, so let me get my thoughts on that. Actually, now that you brought that in the back of my head at the bank, let me say this.
I will, Alyssa. I will.
I will
Thank
say
you.
this is that getting involved with someone, in my opinion, who is already in committed relationship with somebody else, it will end in tears. That's what I always say. I don't know what good can come out of that because you are the person who is the most vulnerable. You might say, "Oh, I'm not. I already know they're married. I'm gonna put my guard up." But they're the ones who already have a commitment to somebody that they will honor in the end, right? You're the ones on the outs. So it's like when people are friends of benefits. Like, oh, I'm not gonna develop no feelings, and then what happens? You do. I think that for Chelsea, she has to be very careful with stuff like that because I'm not saying people who are in open or polyamorous relationships do this, but I just sometimes feel like that third party who they will probably make no commitment to ever, and it's just a good time in the sheets. I feel like they're gonna love you for the experience, but there's gonna come a time where you can easily become collateral damage. And this is not a judgment. So like people who are in relationships here, like, don't they see it ain't like that? Hey, I'm not speaking for all, but this is just what I've seen. This is just my research, and I don't know. I love that they're bringing this up though because this is a modern thing. But she's even falling in love for she's having feelings for the wife now. You see, that's how things get complicated. And you know the thing is,
Hmm.
it's so weird in life, but people usually develop feelings for people who are unavailable who don't want them. I don't know what that is about people. Go to a job interview, act like you don't want to be there, and they'll be like, "You're hired." All right. So Wink Wink says Martin is a manipulative, emotionally abusive. He thinks his wants and needs are more important than his husband and children's. He's unable to see things from his family's perspective. What if Martin is operating from a place of wanting to make sure his family can have a good life? Does that change the way we look at things, Wink Wink? He's manipulative and emotionally abusive. Okay, and I'll be honest. When I first started watching Gates, I thought the same thing too. I thought the same thing too. But the thing is that him and Smitty made an arrangement from the beginning. Exactly, Sam. They're running a game on Chelsea. Exactly. She's going to be collateral damage. But him and Smitty made a commitment, an arrangement from the beginning. And I think what Martin's having a hard time accepting is that this arrangement is now changing. So for him, he's like, well, what does that mean for this arrangement? So it might not be a sense of control, but it's a sense of like unclear expectation. That's the construct that I would put behind this right now. Unclear expectations right now, because him and Smith just said this is the plan, but they never discussed if the plan changes what we would do. If that they could never had those discussions, and so that's where he's feeling like he's thrown off guard. And I understand where Martin's coming from, an aspect of wanting Smitty to raise the kids, because when you're two professionals and you're trying to raise a household, like, because everybody nowadays wants to bring home the bacon. I get it. But like, if you want to have kids, who's raising the kids? Unless you want to have a nanny. But then if you don't want to have a nanny, someone's got to be there to dedicate the time. And there's got to be a sacrifice. And so I think they never talked about really in depth, like, hey, if this doesn't work for us, then what do we do? And that's probably the state they're in right now, this moment. Let's see here. Dolmag says Chelsea's going to end up heartbroken. She's breaking the clear rules that were set in place. Chelsea's going to mess around and get replaced. Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is that, like, people are drawn to people who are unavailable because we're drawn to people who don't put us on a pedestal. That's why I said, go to a job, and if you act like you want to be there, like, you're hired. When can you start? But the person's like, I'm ready to start. I'll do anything. I'll mop the floors. They'll be like, we'll let you know in 3 weeks. But it's always like that. Even relationships, we always tend to go after the people who don't want us. Because as people, when people pedestalize us, it's uncomfortable. We don't want to be around those kinds of people. That's why when Leslie was around Vernon and Martin, they felt so uncomfortable. She's like, "Ooh, Vernon Dupree, Martin and the congressman. Oh, I love you guys." She was pedestalizing in that moment. And that's uncomfortable. Wink Wink says he used the kids to try to manipulate Smitty to stay home. He lied to the reporter, blocked Smitty from pursuing his passion. The kids almost grown and they don't need Smitty home anymore. Okay, I could see that. And I think when you met, okay, see now, Wink Wink, I like this. You brought me the evidence I needed. Thank you. You brought me the evidence I needed that he did lie to the reporter. That was a bit much. That was an element of controlling. But my question for the chat is, can someone be controlling but not exactly emotionally or mentally abusive?
I'm still here. I'm just switching.
No, that's my question to the chat. Can someone be controlling but not emotionally, mentally abusive? What do you think? Okay, so Samuel says, I think that once the secret is out, Martin will loosen up. He's more concerned about his life unraveling behind that secret. So he's always trying to keep everything and everyone very close to him. Oh, Samuel, good point. Okay. Because here's the thing. You guys are looking at the content. Samuel is looking at the process. Come on now, Samuel. Go ahead. That's the thing when you watch a soap for character development. Not saying you're not, Wink Wink, you probably are. But when you watch a show for character development, you're not looking at the content. The content is the plot.
Okay, hold on.
The process.
Keisha got a comment.
Trying to control your partner through a lie is emotionally abusive by nature. Okay. So it's now, let's say if the lie wasn't there, known to Keisha, if he didn't lie to the reporter, would his control for you still be seen as emotionally or mentally abusive? What do you think? Heather Mike says, DC, what storyline would you like to see with Haley develop? I want them to explore more of Haley's past. Not him giving us a Jack Abbott.
Jack Abbott. I gotta update my pictures.
I'm really out here taking over the streets. But I wanted them to explore more of Haley's past, kind of like what Audra and Wine are. They still haven't explored her past. And I think now is the time to do it because I'm losing interest in Audra. Very much losing interest in her. Winkman says trying to control someone's life is taking away their agency. It's abusive. Prime example is Victor Newman. But you know what? Not a lot of you guys call Victor Newman controlling. I don't see that happen a lot. And I feel like he's textbook controlling. What y'all think about that? In fact, I hadn't heard Albert call Victor controlling either.
Huh?
I said I haven't even heard you call Victor controlling either.
Wait, what'd you say?
It's textbook. Victor is textbook controlling. Victor Newman, he's textbook controlling. For real. He's done more than Martin has.
Yeah.
How come y'all like nothing on Victor Newman? That's for all the chat now. I'm calling all y'all out.
Yes, Ed says Victor Newman. Yes, he is very controlling. Yeah.
I'm calling all y'all out. But yes, Samuel spoke on the process. Because this is the thing. When you're watching soaps, like I said again, from a character development perspective, you're not looking at the content. The content is shows like GH Bob Guza Days or B&B. We're not looking at the plot or the content. We're looking at the process. So it's very possible that Martin is trying to keep Smitty close because he knows so much can unravel. He probably wants Smitty to take the job because he knows that if for any reason that truth comes out and Smitty gets a hold of it, it's like it puts him in a compromising position. You see? So it's maybe not that Martin is controlling. Martin just knows things that Smitty doesn't know. Now, does that change the way we look at things? What do you guys think? What do y'all think?
See, chat. This is why we call him the Diane Miller to the chat. This is exactly why we call him Diane Miller to the chat. Just so y'all know, in case y'all forgot.
I request all charges against my client, Martin Richardson, to be dismissed at once with no prejudice.
Okay, Nikisha says, more than one thing can be true. I watch soaps for the content and the character development. They aren't mutually exclusive.
Period.
And this is why she has a channel.
Yeah.
You got me burning my dinner, damn it.
Yes, you are right. They're not mutually exclusive. That's why I did say that to Wink. Like I said, it is possible Wink still watches for the character development, but I was like, this is why we want to keep in mind that other element that is there is the character development. So that's why Dolmex is saying this is like the spiritual. What is it? The gates, like the spiritual reoccurrence of All My Children. Yes, because the elements are there. All My Children was big on character development. But if you were someone that grew up on shows like GH, especially in the early 2000s, shows like All My Children will not make sense to you. You won't get it. Exactly. Exactly, Sarah. Captain Transfer was controlling. She was. It's just the form of her controlling was different. It was in a way people were able to receive it.
Controlling but not abusive.
Because sometimes it's not even the action, it's who the action is coming from that makes the difference. And it's how that action, the narrative behind that action is also being told as well. That makes a difference in how people receive as well. Martin seems mostly scared of Smitty. He's a congressman sleeping with his worst nightmare, an investigative journalist. That part, Dolomex. Come on, Dolomatics. Come on, Dolomatics. Come on now. Come on, Dolomatics. Okay, I said Dolomatics is a moderator on here. Okay, I see you, Dolomatics. I see you.
Dolomatics was in the chat yesterday. In the member stream, he was sent to kind of give me some stuff on. He was breaking down Beyond the Gates and stuff like that. So it was interesting, for the members. We do miss you, DC. We do miss you. I just want to put that out there.
I miss this channel, guys. I miss it. I like to think of, because my program, we have to do.
That was like a subtle way to sit there and try to get you to join the membership thing again, but yes.
I'm waiting for the free membership shout out. I got one for Kyrie shout out. How come none of y'all been giving out free membership some more? What's going on? I'm counting on y'all. I was counting on y'all. All right.
What was you gonna say though?
The same with the free memberships. It's been hurt out here. But Tony D says, is it possible Martin killed his kid's parents, and that's the secret he doesn't want revealed, so he's overprotective and controlling even with Smitty? Okay. So then, Tony D, that theory there, does that change the way we look at Martin? I'm not going to get us to change our opinion on Martin being mostly controlling or abusive. I'm just saying, what are other elements that we haven't considered yet before we get there?
What was you going to say, though? What was you going to say before, though? You said something about, like, you missed the channel, and then, like, kind of, like...
Yeah, I do. I miss the channel a lot. I miss coming on here. Sometimes I'm happy for the break because seeing like Jakari's post today, I was like, dang, like I know how that feels because it's not easy when you put yourself out here in the spotlight, guys. It is I got
to finish reading now. I started it and then I just
because soap fans, they'll come for you, like they'll eat you alive. But I do want Jakari to feel supported, and I just think like. Definitely take a break from soap Twitter because it's not that kind of place. It's not that kind of place. It can be welcome, sure, but it's like it's got to be managed in a certain type of way. Now, if Martin is scared of losing Smitty for those reasons, now here's the thing: people said Martin is a narcissist. He is not, but I'll tell you who is a narcissist and who's been the criteria from what I've seen so far. Leslie. One of the diagnoses of being a narcissist is having a grandiose character. Leslie has that. Leslie is actually more of a narcissist than Martin, believe it or not, guys.
But that's why I sat there and I said, I was like, she she weaponized her daughter. She made it about her instead of like I don't know. That's what I can sit there
She
and
did.
say.
She
Y'all
did
using
because she's seeing everything through her trauma. This is why I was even saying my review. Like me personally, this is gonna sound really bad, but I would not date someone who has high trauma that has not actively worked on it. And when I mean actively worked on it, you can't just say you're in therapy. That doesn't count. Are you actively working on it? I need concrete examples that you're actively working on it. And the reason why I say that is because when people are constantly conceptualizing certain things through their trauma, that will manifest in your interactions with them. And that's what's going on with Leslie. She can only see things so much through her trauma. She hurt her own daughter in the process. And that was sad. That was sad to see that. That was really, really seriously sad to see that. Okay, so Ed the Bank says, DC, if Leslie was to kill somebody off on Beyond the Gates, who'd you want it to be? I'm okay with her killing a cat. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Totally okay with it.
Cat?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna kill off probably among the most interesting characters on the show?
Let's not go that far, Albert. AJ Courtney, with your serious drink. Okay, but if she wants to kill off someone, she could start with Mona. She could start with Mona. Mona's the one she could start with. I mean, when Mona gave Eva that look, when Eva was like, and then she looked at Mona, and Mona was like, I felt that. And Eva was so isolated from everybody because the thing is like she got rejected from her dad basically again. She said to her dad, like, she was looking for him for comfort, and he's like, I gotta go find my wife. And it's almost like, damn, it's like parental rejection can really hurt people. I've never dealt with that, but I can only imagine how that could traumatize someone because these are the people who made you. And so the people who made you don't want you, then damn, it's like it makes you think, then who will want me? You know? It hurts. Nikisha says, Leslie can kill nobody. I want to keep her crazy ass around. I love Leslie. She's like, you are exactly where you belong, in your father's house. That scene. I still remember it. When I saw it the first week, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm giving them another week. Give them one more week.
So they just borrowing time. So Beyond the Gates is just borrowing time with you at this point, right?
You know what? They are, because I have to hold my shows now to standards. They have to deliver. It's almost like when you're married to someone, and after a while you realize the kids, me staying for the kids, not enough. I need needs have to be met.
It was really funny. Wink, I don't know if you're still in the chat, but one of you know, Wink's favorite creators was Kevin Samuels. And see, I already know, I'm going to a bad place. No, I did too on certain stuff. But he was well, no, but the thing is, he was not there talking about like, listen, you made it this far, past the kids and everything like that. You might as well just finish out your term in a sense. Like, why sit there and
are they the president?
Like, yeah. See, Wake is in there. But essentially, it's like you're already halfway through life. Like, why start with somebody new? Might as well just finish that journey to that. Rest of life. You already made it through the kids and everything like that. You brought them to college and stuff. You might as well just finish it out.
Okay, so Albert, is that the philosophy you would live by?
Is that the what?
Is that the philosophy you would live by?
It depends on how unhappy I was. Like, if I was really unhappy, then no, I would not follow that. But I'm just saying that's I don't know. I mean, you look at Vanessa, you look at Doug. They're not where they're supposed to be at. Obviously, the kids are going. They still have that love for each other, but they're not in love. So I guess, in a sense, they are kind of following that philosophy.
Right.
They're still together, and they don't. I mean, this girl is out here saying that they're getting male escorts. She's paying for loving in the afternoon. Yeah. Which is still wild to me, but here we are.
Right. The thing is with Vanessa is that this is why I say her and Doug have no depth. Like, some people are with, and this is why even myself personally, I'm gonna be real with you guys, very transparent. This is why I've learned, like, you cannot just date people for what they have. You really have to be with someone for their sake of their character. And some kind of friendship and camaraderie. I think it's important. And her and Doug don't have that at all. I'm like, damn, when did you ever have it? It's like enough. Because some people think, here's the thing, some people think that when you're a person that makes good money and you have a career and you're a professional, as if that says something about your character. That just says about what you can do, but it doesn't really says about who you are. And some people confuse the two. And you have to be very, very careful about that, honestly. So Winkling says, DC, how do you feel about the singing on Beyond the Gates? It goes, Anita singing amazing. That's
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Come on, hey, glad out. Like, was Anita singing amazing, grace appropriate today? I didn't see her singing today, but last time I saw her singing, I loved it. It reminded me of All My Children. Albert didn't like it, but Albert also didn't watch it sing while Blair was singing on One Life to Live. So it's understandable. It's totally understandable.
So yes, I did watch One Life to Live. DC is just trolling. Ed says, especially when Kevin would tell those women break up their marriage and trying to get a man making twice as much as the man they had 3 kids with. Yeah, he was. I did start rewatching his content again, but like he's
He ended up on my timeline the other day.
Really?
Yeah, there is another person that I do watch from time to time, but I'm not going to say their name. I will tell you afterwards for a lot of reasons.
Okay. It's that controversy, people.
It is that controversial. I'm not going to say this person's name. And I watch this person's content because I do want to understand why do they think this way, right? Anyways, but what I will say is that with Vanessa and Doug, I agree with Sam. Vanessa is broken, and Doug does want to pay attention to her. And Doug probably just like, because a lot of people get in relationships thinking like, hey, I'm good enough, like I'm this, and you should be with me. And granted, yeah, if someone has 3, 4 kids, or somebody been married 40 years, yeah, find a way to make it work, because it's like you already got a lot going on, Papa. Right? If there's no abuse and there's no cheating, there's nothing that you can't work out. I'm honestly a firm believer in those guidelines. If you're not being abused or cheated on, is there nothing you really can't work out? Honestly, past that point, like what couldn't be worked
out? Again, but that's I guess that's why I I look at that, and it's I'm not gonna sit there and say the word tragic, but it's I mean, I'm kind of a romantic in a sense, and it's kind of to have that time with someone to build that relationship, to have those memories, to sit there and have those kids, just to do all that to get to that place and be like, all right, whatever. Like it's like if they both sat there and they put in the work, they can make it work, But it's I think sometimes when people sit there and think about marriage, it's like, all right, well, you just get married and happily ever after, and you just la 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 la. It's like, no, there's work involved.
No, you gotta definitely work on it. Relationships are something that have to be worked on. And I'm a firm believer that just about any relationship can work if you want it to work, but both people have to be wanting to put in the work. And I think that you're going to find your relationship at different stages in life. Because, when people first meet someone, oh my God, they're so cute. Like, I just had such a fun time with them. My God, like, they're so fun. It's so sweet. And then after a while, that period ends. And like, I don't know, like the other day has been so annoying. Like, you're going to go through stages. And granted, you want to be mindful of how those stages look, because granted, also, you don't want to ignore concerning or alarming behavior. But I always say this. The way you meet someone is typically who they're going to be down the line. So if you meet someone and they're not really an outgoing, adventurous person, they might see that you're one and they love that. And they might start being adventurous and outgoing for a little while. But then they eventually revert back to default settings. So if they're not like that when they meet you already on their own, they really kind of won't be down the line. Especially as some older somebody gets. But I do think that people can work through things. So Doug and Vanessa can work through their issues. It's not impossible, but
I'm glad we both looked at the same comment at the same time.
But it's like people can work through things that they want to, but it's about both people wanting to put in that effort and be conscious, because you're gonna go through stages. They're gonna, like, even for me now, I know that when I go back out into the dating sphere, or if a date were to come upon me, that it's going to be amazing in the beginning. Of course it is. You look cute. Oh my God, you look cute. You look cute. And you have all that good time. And then that ends. And then next thing you know, the person stops putting on their cologne, their perfume around you. They start dressing however. They start dressing floppy doppy, and then the real them starts coming out. And then now you're starting to see, okay, now I'm presented with this. How do I feel about this? And I think people have to realize that's the realistic element of a relationship. Exactly. Sam was right. Life happens in relationships. We are not just in love all the time. I think once work takes over family bills, things just become a task, and love gets lost intentionally. Yes. And then that's an opportunity when you realize that to rekindle love. And that's going to go through multiple stages. It's like how if you have a career or a job you love, you'll love it. But then there'll be times like, and then something comes to revitalize it. Like even with soaps, I remember I was doing sometimes even Soap Sanctuary. I got like, with it in the past. That moments has happened. And then something has come back and they just revived my love for it.
And Ed got a comment for you.
Ed said, okay, that had to be hard. That thing's for Alyssa.
No. It's right there.
Okay. You think that Eva and Kat could be twins? Yes, I do. And I think that's the only way to redeem Eva at this point. She has to be Dupree. Because it's very hard for Ted to have a relationship with Eva, knowing she caused harm to his wife, but his wife, I think, could forgive her if she found that's her daughter. And Eva and Kat would kind of remind me of like Natalie and Jessica from Like to Live. You know how Natalie was a schemer? Yep. And that's what Eva is. And then Jessica was Kat, you know what I'm saying? She grew up with the Buchanans. So
except for she's nowhere as bougie as Kat, but yes.
She wasn't as bougie, but she did have the split personality. She was brought from a different table. But there's a high possibility.
I was gonna say something else, and I totally forgot what it was. I literally it was right there.
Sounds like it was gonna be good.
It was. It felt like it was a good question, and then I totally forgot what it was.
Was it about Beyond the Gates? Was it about General Hospital?
It was actually about Beyond the Gaze. It was actually about Beyond the Gaze, and I cannot remember it for the life of me, and I'm blaming you for it.
You blaming me? Not me. Yeah. Listen, interrupt me sometimes. Interrupt me sometimes. Get that thought out before it's gone. Get that thought. But I always compare this show to the parallels of other soaps. So I do see that that Natalie and Jessica Buchanan dynamic with Kat and Eva, and with Nicole being like their Vicky in a sense. And it's crazy because I looked at Bill like a Alan Spaulding, but now I look at him as an Asa Buchanan, because Asa Buchanan did the same thing to Cord, where he paid off Maria Roberts to leave town with Cord when Maria was pregnant with Clint's baby back in the 70s, because he didn't want no Mexicans running around. That's only what Asa said. Well, no, that's what Clint said back in the 70s. Why, Paul? Because they're a bunch of Mexicans.
What's good, Queen Jazz?
Jazz, what's going on? So I think Beyond the Gates has really exceeded my expectations. Now, a lot of good-looking men on the show, but the one that's the most dateable is Jacob. But a lot of you guys like drama, so y'all like Bill Hamilton.
Not the hell is his name? Andre? Because it was yes, that's what it was. It was how do you feel about Ashley and Derek?
Okay.
I feel like there's a joke in there.
Okay, Ashley and Derek. Okay, so how I feel about Ashley and Derek. I was actually watching the other day. They're starting to grow on me. I thought it was weird that they moved into Ashley's place, because I'm a firm believer as a couple, if you're moving in together, you can move into each other's place for a few months until the lease is over, but get a place together. I'm just a firm believer in that.
Why is that?
Because it's neutral territory. Because when you move into someone else's space, like you move into their house, this is why I could never be with a millionaire. I know how that sounds, but hear me out. Because every time B&B, when Eric has a new wife, they're moving into his house. And so they get in an argument, who has to leave? The wife. That's very awkward. But if you own the place together, who's leaving? Nobody's leaving. What's up? I just think it's better to move in with someone when you are both getting a place together. I'm just a firm believer in that, because I think it's uncomfortable because a person's already established a space and you're coming into it, and it's hard to feel like you have a say in it. Your name is not even on it. This is why I find it very weird. Like, this is what I found weird. Okay, this is my own personal values coming out. And I'm not judging nobody, but I find it weird for couples who buy a house together but then a marriage is too much commitment, or it's not the right time. But y'all can buy a house, get a mortgage together. Like what? Like what is that? So you go
Maybe
into
because
a
it's
30-year agreement with someone, but not a marriage. Got it.
well. To be fair, and what's good, Crystal? We got a new person in the chat. Let's say what's up to Crystal. Um, well, it's not emotional. It's not emotional.
Okay, what do you mean? What do you mean? Okay, what part is not emotional when you say that?
Buying a house together is not the same thing as being in a marriage. The commitment.
That's not a commitment though. That's a 30-year
I mean,
commitment.
it's a commitment on a human level. It's not bills and stuff like that. All right, we can figure this out, or
It is a
I want to sit
bill.
there.
What you mean? It is a bill.
I'm sorry. So wait, wait. Are you sitting there trying to compare? Are you trying to compare a commitment to a house as the same thing as a commitment to another human being?
In some ways, yes, because a house is a huge financial expense. For most people, it's a 30 to 15 or 30-year commitment. And my thing is, I guess my logic. Let me speak in Albertese here, Albert Bostonese here. In my logic, how is it you can make a 15 or 30-year commitment with like a 15 or 30 financial commitment with somebody, but then not marry them?
Chat.
If
Okay,
you
I just before the aqua. Okay, Nikki said buying a house with a mortgage and renting with a lease are two different things. No, okay, but do you think that? Okay, can y'all compare buying a house and being in a marriage on the same level?
But it's almost like when someone says to someone, "Oh, I can have a child with you," but then them say, "Oh, marriage? I don't know about how I want to get married to you."
Yeah, that's a little perplexing because you're still dealing with a human element.
Okay,
You're,
but an 18-year commitment.
I, hmm, maybe it's the emotional aspect.
Okay,
Okay,
Jess.
just wait.
I'll repeat the question, Jess. The question is,
Yeah.
Jess, is that I don't know how we got the subject, but I was saying that, okay, we're talking about Ashley and Derek and then moving to a place together. But I was saying how I think it's sometimes confusing is how some couples will buy a house together, which we know is either sometimes a 15-year or 30-year financial decision they're going into together, which you're committing to that. You're committing to 15, 30 years together to being in this financial decision together. And I'm presuming for most people living in it together. But you won't. But then when it comes to the idea of marriage, some people say, "Oh, us getting married? I don't know about that." That's my question. Okay, Nikisha, I get that. Nikisha, I get that. I get that. Okay, now Nikisha said something earlier about how like, oh, Ashley and Derek should just go where the rent is cheaper. Okay, sure. Okay, but why can't they stay in Ashley's place? Well, make a plan for the rest of the lease and then get a place together that's cheaper. There's two incomes here now, so everything should be a little cheaper. Regardless.
Tamara said it's still a 30-year commitment. Emotions are going to happen.
Okay, okay, Tamara. When you say that, what do you mean? When you
Tamara.
say what do you mean? Like, because I'm trying to understanding like which side are you on when you say that, and also like what's your reason behind it? I'm curious. What do you mean? Like, as a still 30-year commitment, as in like it's different or is it the same? Just understand where you're at with that. But Ash and Derek should get a place together, and I mean that was awkward for Derek to be coming in her place, and it's just like yeah, it's.
It was awkward because she kept sitting there saying, "Oh, I don't know if I like this. I don't know if I want that there." Like, yes, I can see that. And Ed got a comment for you.
And she's gotten accommodated to that too. Where do you see Jacob's storyline going with his job? I think Jacob is going to have a revelation about his dad and this pedestal. This is why you don't put people on pedestals, and that's why I don't believe in role models. But he's put his dad.
I'm sorry. No. Go back to the role models part.
I don't believe in role models. I honestly feel like past the age of 10, you shouldn't have a role model no more because people are human and they're flawed. And we're only going with the external image of the person. We really don't know what's behind that.
Okay. That's fair.
So Jacob has
That's
put
fair.
his dad on this pedestal. His dad is his ultimate role model. and his world is going to be crushed when he finds out his dad is not the man he thought he was. Jess says, I honestly don't care where they go. They're not interesting enough for me to care. Yeah, she's like a great value Elizabeth Weber for me.
Oh, and you already answered that. Never mind.
So, I mean, I totally forgot that Ashley and Derek T brought them up. Totally forgot about them.
Yeah, I mean, I think what makes them interesting, and a lot of people will sit there and say, is probably the Andre part. Because, like Nikisha said, because Ashley will be effing Andre in less than a year.
Because here's the thing with Ashley and Derek. Oh God, I was gonna say something about them. I totally forgot.
See?
What was I gonna say? I totally forgot. Oh my God.
See, and you're not even drinking, so there's no excuse.
Oh no, I remember now. With Andre, if Eva is going to him for solace, I'm wondering how that's going to affect his relationship with Danny. Because Danny is obviously in support of Nicole. And Eva is Nicole's Haley right now. So I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. All right, what's the other brand that they have that
Dollar Tree?
Dollar Tree. Well, she is. She's like a great value Elizabeth Weber. It's like a great value. Every time I watch Ashley on screen, it's just like I'm watching another Elizabeth Weber.
Do you think that Sarah's like that? Do you think that Sarah is like GH's version of Elizabeth Weber?
You mean Ashley?
No. I mean, no. I'm talking about Days of Our Lives. What's her name? Sarah. You think that's Sarah?
No.
Why not?
I feel like it's not because she's a doctor, but it's just for some reason I just don't see. She has a personality, and I feel like Elizabeth Weber does not have one. I know, like the gunshots are coming out from the chat.
You listen. You know they're coming out from Melissa. I'll tell you that shit right now.
Elizabeth
And what's
Weber
good? What's good, Lisa?
And Ashley doesn't have a personality for me, so that's why I'm like, there's a saying, and they're literally both nurses. It's like, but the other nurse on Beyond the Gates, honestly, the black nurse on Beyond the Gates, forgot her name. Shanice. I'd rather see more of her. She's way more interesting. But yet she's on recurring. I guess she's their epiphany.
That's so wrong for so many different reasons.
Wait. No, I didn't mean like that, but it's like
I know what you meant, but
Epiphany on GH was way more interesting than Liz. Somebody has to say it.
Say that again.
Epiphany on GH was way more interesting than Liz. Somebody has to say it. Somebody has to say it.
You hear that, Alyssa? See, I didn't say that shit. DC did.
Say the truth. Somebody has to say truth. I don't know. She doesn't have that spunk, that je ne sais quoi. And I don't need the character to be dramatic. But even Naomi's got it. Naomi's a subtle character, but she's got it. She's got that thing that makes me interested in her. Ashley doesn't have that. Elizabeth Weber doesn't.
Chelsea. We gotta talk about Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of her? Shanice is kind of annoying.
Chelsea, she's growing on me. Like I said, she's going to become collateral damage with this polyamorous couple. This open relationship. Sorry, they're not polyamorous, they're open relationship. I found out a while ago what the difference is, which I should have been knew the difference between open relationship.
What's the difference?
Okay, so open relationship is when it's two committed people. We're two committed people in a relationship, and we'll go and maybe have sexual relations with other people, but we are the core couple. Polyamorous is when there's more than two people in the core couple. So there could be 5 of us, but we're all the core couple. And we can have open relationships outside of that, but we are the core couple, all 4 or 5 of us, or 3 of us.
Oh, okay.
Open relationship is when 2 of us are the core couple, and then we'll go outside. Which a polyamorous relationship can also have an open relationship too. But the amorous part is the love, so it's like the core of the couple. So open relationship, there's 2 people. We're the core couple. We're the main couple here. Just like what Chelsea's dealing with, they're the main couple. They're not bringing her in as part of their relationship. She's just here for the good times. So
yes.
Now if they bring Chelsea in, then they become polyamorous because now they're all them the core couple. It's almost like 4 co-CEOs or something, like kind of like I was at DeMere Enterprises when Kristen DeMere took over, like all those co-CEOs in a way. So it would be
Okay.
like that, or like Xander and Philip when they were co-CEOs.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, good boy. Yes, good boy. Yes, well,
No,
yes.
I got you. So, I mean, do you think that she's an interesting character, or it's like,
I do. There's something there. There's something there because there's some people they naturally just have an energy that makes them interesting, and I think all of them have that so far on the gates. Martin is a little dry, but it's gotten better. It's gotten better with Martin. Martin is like a young man, but he's also an old head at the same time. He's got a spirit of an old head, but he's young at the same time. So that's the funny thing with Martin. So he's young, you can clearly see it, but he operates like an old head.
now, what soap have you? Okay, so I know that you divorced B&B.
Yes, we're still in divorce proceedings. I'm trying to take everything.
Weinar, where are you at with Weinar?
I've seen YNR this week. Very
Okay.
disappointed in their storylines. Very disappointed. I've seen GH. GH, very, very good storyline. And Jocelyn's WSB thing, I like it. I don't know where this is
I
going.
see. Thank you. I like it too.
I like
I like the WSB Jocelyn stuff because Jess don't like it, and she's a Joss fan. So, but I like it.
It's different. It's like it's not the route that I ever expected they would take Jocelyn in, but I'm like, you know what? I kind of like this. And it's a good way to pull on the legacy of the show because the show's been always having WSB agents. So why don't we actually get to see in this generation how WSB agent is molded? We've never got to see that process before. So okay, all right, Jess. All right, Jess. All right. But look, it made sense because now she was indebted to Brennan. And I just wonder for the day that Carly finds out, because Carly will find out what that's going to be like.
Yes.
But I love it. I love the storyline. It's like, and then seeing her having to actually like get the USB from Emma and do all the secret stuff, and then she's seeing Danny at the party. I'm like, I like this because honestly, I was expecting it was going to be Emma. I saw Emma back in town. I was like, oh, I guess she's on her way to becoming WSB because she's a rebel. But nah, Brandon didn't go that route. He chose Jocelyn, and this
And
is
you know what?
unique.
You know what? Since we're on that, I like Vaughn because Vaughn will hold Jocelyn's feet to the fire. Vaughn would not sit. No, Vaughn would not sit there and coddle Jocelyn like Dex did.
Mm-hmm.
And I could respect that.
Mm-hmm.
I can respect that. So like I'm here for the Vaughn and Josh stuff because he would not be a pushover like Dex was.
To answer Jess's comment, where she said she literally panicked today with the USB, how much believe she's a good spy, and a panicked at one point in time too. And she's a pro expert WSB agent. She shot Charlotte Valentine. So Charlotte Castanide. So they have their moments. Jess, she's in development. Remember how like in the boy and the girl bands of the 90s, they were in development. Now you gotta be prepackaged, ready to go. Jocelyn's in development, and we get to see what this development process looks like for her. And I like it. This storyline is different. And I mean, she is Jerry Jackson's niece after all. So, so you know what? Is it any surprise that she's got this in her? You know what I mean? Is it any surprise she's got this in her? So I like it. But see, that's the thing. That's the good part about Lisa.
Exactly.
Because here's the thing. In soaps and in TV shows, we're always making characters stereotypical to age. And it's like, why can't we just challenge that from sometimes? Like, hell, Beyond the Gates, instead of it being Doug being the plastic surgeon, why can't we have a young 25-year-old as a plastic surgeon? They do exist. People younger nowadays. So why not? Let's see that. I mean, Anna was probably this old when she started in the WSB. They all were. So why not?
Yes.
I like it. I think this is probably one of their best storylines that are going right now. Somebody has to say it. It's one of their best. Bless you.
No, and I agree with Jocelyn. I agree. It's just, it's kind of funny too because like, I've been, since they're talking about, I'm liking the WSB stuff, and everybody's been like, oh, the WSB stuff has been garbage. And of course, Justice Smith there leading the charge, whatever, with the flag and everything. So now I got DC there, so like, just there you go.
We're here for that. We're here for that.
Exactly.
No, but
Jess,
I honestly think Jess Okay, Jess, have you seen classic GH from the 70s, 80s when they had all the secret agent stuff really heavy? Because they had it heavy and they stopped in the 90s and then
He
they
was
had
born in the 90s.
over. What was that?
He was born in the 90s. She's a 90s girl.
No, but I'm saying that's when they ended. That's when they ended the secret agent stuff. If you notice, they kind of ended that stuff at that point on GH, and they made it more like a guiding light show, right? Or As the World Turns, and then they brought the mob stuff in, and now they're like merging both worlds. Because this is the first time I've ever seen Sunny and the WSB like have a direct storyline with one another. If you notice, I've never really seen the two merge.
Yeah, I agree with that.
If you think about it, those two worlds have never merged. That's why Jason was like, Sonny, we're dealing with something that we can't even control. This is a world bigger than ours. They've never had those conversations before. And it's almost like, because I used to watch GH, it was almost like Sonny existed in the mob world and the Castons existed in their own little world and the WSV existed in their own little world, but they're all on the same show. And like finally you're seeing the two converge together, like all these elements converge together for once. And it's cool. I like it.
You want to read it or you want me to do it?
Oh, yeah. Ed the Bank says, Albert DC, people have a problem with the Joss line because they want it to be Emma. Yes, that's true. I like the unexpected twist with Joss because it's better than her talking about Sonny. Yes.
Well, yeah, we can all agree with that. Just ain't buying it.
I'm just not buying that she would be a good spy, and they haven't shown me anything to believe her. I honestly do think she has that. I think Eden Regal has not Eden Regal. What's her name that plays Jocelyn? That's Eden Regal. Eden Regal played Bianca on My Children. Eden McCoy. Okay, I was right with the first name. Eden McCoy.
Ed. Well, yeah, Eden. You was right with the E. What is she called? No, what's her new name now? No, what's her new name? What's the name you called her?
I called her Eden Regal, but that was the name of the girl who played Bianca on My Children.
We'll call her Eden Regal then.
But she's
Eden Regal.
But I mean, I think she's perfect. I think sometimes, like for example, Lucas's guy that he met in Miami happens to be Jen Sidwell's son of a mob boss. Chef's kiss, because we didn't see that coming. Perfect. Because, and I hope they finally give us the Romeo mob storyline that I've been waiting for the two conflicting families, because we were supposed to get that with Lucas and Brad. We never got it, and I was pissed about that. Maybe I didn't get this right, but I like that as Jocelyn. She is Jerry Jackson's niece, guys. After all, come on now. And imagine if they give her a mission where she has to take out somebody on the WSB and it happens to be Jerry Jacks. Legendary story.
That would be
legendary.
That'd be a great week.
That would be legendary.
They're not going to do it. They're going to do it. They're going to spread it out a whole week. That's going to be awesome.
That would be a legendary storyline where she's supposed to basically capture a prisoner, and then she doesn't know it's her own Uncle Jerry. That would be legendary.
And that's funny too, because Alyssa, we were sitting there talking about that earlier. Me, you, and Samuel was sitting there bringing that up. Okay, yeah, he does do some good stuff. Let's not sit there and try to acknowledge he doesn't. But at the end of the day, when you sit there and think about it, and it's funny too. Protection money and stuff like that. He does how do you think he gets his money from? You know what I'm saying? He roughs up the businesses around them to sit there and say, hey, listen, if you want to pay up, you're gonna, you're gonna get that ass whooping.
And that's what I love about the WSB is that Brennan has a different kind of control that Sonny and Jason can't touch. They're shook. They're really shook, those two. I like that. And I like that. Brennan, and the crazy thing is that Brennan has Carly's daughter in the WSB. How does that even work? You're telling us when you love her and you care about her, but you got her daughter secretly working for you. You've got her daughter under your thumb. But Brennan is smart.
Is that Sebastian?
Yeah, Sebastian Roche. It's Roche. Yeah. That's his name. That's Roche. But see, Brennan's smart. This is how he's going to keep his control over Carly. Now, if anybody's controlling, it's not Martin Richardson. It is Brennan. Okay, Brennan is smart because he got Jocelyn under his thumb, right? And that'll help him down the line with Carly. This man knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. That is smart. And the thing is that I think he's trying to get Jocelyn in even deeper to where she can't get out. It's like the mob. And this crazy thing is because this is the kind of life that Carly wanted to avoid for her kids, right? Being stuck in a world where you can't get out of. But now her daughter is in one. It's not the mob, but it might as well be.
Well, it's
So
not
it's interesting.
criminal.
And then for justice, what was that?
It's not criminal like the mob and stuff like that.
But it can
It
be.
is government sanctioned. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
That's why
it's
Sonny was like, "We gotta get out of this business." Wait, you froze up.
no, I don't think it did.
Did Albert freeze up, or did I freeze up?
Did anybody freeze up?
Okay. Okay. Now you're back. Now you're back.
I didn't leave,
Now you're
but
back.
okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. No, I can hear you. Now I can hear you. Now see, when Sonny told Jason, "We gotta get out of this business," I'm like, "Now you want to get out?"
It's
Here's the
funny.
thing: if Sonny tries to get out the business, go ahead.
No, I was gonna sit there and say, I remember these. I said the same thing. I sat there and said, I'm like, he was like, oh, I want to get out. What happened after Michael? I was like, what happened the first time when Michael got shot? Like, you didn't think about getting out then, like, and of course, somebody in my chat was like, you don't understand like something or whatever, and I'm just like, no, 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 we're not gonna sit there and try to we're not gonna sit there and try to protect Sonny and the bullshit that he just said, because that's exactly what that was. I think it was like, oh, it's growth and development. It was like, no, his son got shot the first time. That should have been growth enough. We're not going to do that. We're
Yeah.
not going to sit there and act like, oh, well, he got shot the first time, but now I understand because he nearly got burned to a crisp. Like,
Actually, not even.
no,
Not even.
yeah,
Not even Michael getting shot the first time. What about when Christina got the catatonic shot or Morgan was blown up? Ladies and
that's what I'm
gentlemen,
saying. So it's like we're not gonna do that. Nope,
or when
fuck that.
Carly was kidnapped by Claudia Zakara, or when Michael went to jail. The list keeps going, guys. Or when Christina fell out the window with the whole situation with Ava. The list keep going, guys. Because the thing about it is, if Sonny trying to get out of the business should be Maurice Bernard's exit storyline, GH, and I want them to do is like an irony. He's trying to get out the business and he gets killed in the process. Just kiss. I know that sounds harsh, but like it's true to the genre. I don't want Sonny going out in a heart attack and then coming back in flashbacks as a ghost. Now he needs to be killed off. WSB agent or something. Somebody get him. Somebody get him good. In fact, I would want a mysterious figure to come back to take Sonny Corinthos out. Who could it be? Could it be a mysterious figure? I'm trying to think. But somebody, I don't know, something. Somebody to come back. But I want that. And then they take Sonny out. And then that would be a legendary storyline. That's what I want to see more of. But that's why I liked it when they made Johnson WSB, because that was different. I'm like, where is this going to go? And honestly, I'm interested in Rocco and Danny. I'm actually interested in their scenes. I didn't see that coming.
It's actually really funny though. I was not there making a big deal about like I don't really like the the teen stuff on Days of Our Lives. Like I don't give two flying shits about that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't. And to be fair, and I go back. I even go back to General Hospital. I didn't give two shits about the Lucas and Georgie and Maxie stuff when I first started watching it.
Mm-hmm.
But the Danny and Rocco stuff, yeah, that's interesting.
What makes it interesting to you? What changes that about them from others?
They don't seem as pretentious. I know you read my comment, Albert. Yeah, I did. Whole government name. No, okay. I'll sit there and say this, Alyssa, because we're not going to do the 3 year going back and forth like we used to sit there and do. If Spencer comes back, that's cool. But I know a lot of Sabrina fans want Spencer to come back or whatever. If that happens, that's cool. I don't see that happening, but I'll never say nothing.
Right.
I'm not super. I'll say this much. Okay, it is. Trina hasn't had a good storyline since Spencer. Like they made their mark. It was lightning in the bottle. I don't know if they're gonna capture that again. Depends on the actor, but I guess we'll sit there and see. That's as diplomatic as I'm gonna be about it.
What were we talking about right before that?
I don't remember.
Okay,
let's see.
Maybe it'll come to me later on. It'll come to me later on.
No, I think I was looking at a comment.
Oh, I love Kai, Jonathan. I do love Kai. I love Kai. Kai's a very handsome guy too, but I love Kai. I love Kai. He's
Oh, we were talking about Sunny. We were talking about Sunny. Thank you, Josh. We were talking about Sunny.
but I do love Kai too. I do love where that storyline is going with Kai. But with Sunny, like I said, with the well, we were talking about Rocco and them. We were talking about Rocco and them. Remember?
Oh yes, you were talking about Rocco. Yes. So I don't know. I guess because Danny kind of reminds people of like a young Jason, kind of more of like rebel, taking chances or whatever, and kind of getting Rocco into some trouble or whatever, which is something that people said that like, yo, the younger teens or whatever, like they kind of need that. I think they have to set that for Days of Our Lives, but they need that. And I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to create story because right now you're going to have Dante and Lulu be like, "Yo, listen, we don't want Danny hanging around with Rocco."
Yeah. What do you think about Lulu doing this adoption storyline for the banner? This adoption piece for the banner.
It's funny too because like me and Jess was going back and forth, and Jess was like, Lulu Smith, they're doing this to spite Brooklyn. And for me, I'm kind of just like, regardless if she is or she's not, she's writing a story. You know what I'm saying? Like, Brooklyn being in her feelings, that's a her problem. But at the same time, it's not Lulu's place to sit there and be telling Dante like that's what I'm saying, like she's out of pocket. It's the same thing with Robin.
Yeah.
Years ago, Robin sat there and told the secret about Michael and AJ and stuff like that. And Carly was like, yeah, maybe AJ needed to know, but that wasn't Robin's place. And now Lulu's doing the same thing after so many people like you need to sit there and just kind of, back it off, let it go.
Yeah.
Just,
I mean, the good side thing of the storyline, we got to see a softer side of Tracy, because when Tracy said to Brooklyn today, "My granddaughter, whom I adore," I was like, when did that happen? What did she like Brooklyn? When did this happen? But even Chase coming like, "Where's Lulu?" He could have thought this like, "Where's Lulu? I got to talk to Lulu." Probably adoption piece.
yeah, see, this is something I'm not liking about Chase. Chase becoming Brooklyn's personal lapdog. I like to call that and I'm gonna get in trouble in the chat, and I don't give a shit. I like to call that the Jada Pickett effect. I like to call that the Jada Pickett effect.
He's standing up for his wife.
No, that's a personal lapdog. We're not gonna sit there and do that because now you sit there coming in acting like you big dogs, and that they're abusing your power as a as a cop or whatever. And I just again, it's the Jada Pickett effect. That's a good question, Lisa. That's a good question. That's a damn good question. I will make sure I ask her that question.
Okay, see, I just asked the question. We just answered. What do we think about Chase how he's handling things? I mean, I think him threatening a woman is not cool. I think that even had caught Lulu off guard when that happened. Because when he first came in and she was like, okay, whoa. But I think Chase should stand down because you have to remember this is Dante's kid too. So like everyone's gonna be hot water with Dante, right? Chase is gonna be hot water, Brooklyn, Tracy, what's her face name? Lois. Olivia and Ned have barely been on. I noticed throughout all this storyline, they've barely been on for whatever reason.
Well, Ned and Justin. So
Yeah.
I give him somewhat of a pass with that. If
as long as he's just there for the reveal.
Yes.
And then, but what is Sunday gonna say? Sunday shouldn't have nothing to say. I mean, I don't blame Brooklyn for not saying anything. I don't know.
I loved her when she paid it. I loved her when she was Fish Mooney. That's the one exception I would sit there and give her. But I still do think she's kind of a shitty person.
Well, the problem is that Will Smith has pedestalized Jada. This is why you don't ever pedestalize your spouse. Sometimes you gotta humble people. You don't emotionally abuse or anything, but you just gotta humble them from time to time. Sometimes make a comment like, "Oh my God, this person does grocery store kids for me. They don't know I'm married. Like it's crazy." Gotta sprinkle some of that in sometimes.
We are talk about that after. Hold on,
just reaction to the reveal. Ted.
Oh, he didn't. He didn't. What? Did you watch it?
Oh, Friday's episode, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, it
yes,
was
yes.
Friday's
I
episode.
did.
Yes.
That was so calm. But when Vernon got up and like, okay, it's almost like Vernon was like, okay, Dupree team, activate. And then Ted was first. And then Ted was like, yeah, you got this. You know what I mean? He was like, all right, ladies and gentlemen, this woman, she just needs mental help. We're gonna help her out here. But I loved how Leslie just kind of shut that down. You know what I mean? She's like, oh, look at you, the Dupree. So, but Ted is living in the shadow of the Duprees. It's kind of like Corey, isn't it Corey Gamble, Kris Jenner's boyfriend? It's almost like it's a Kardashians world that he's living in it. And I watched their show. It's their world and he's living in it. And some people, that's the only way you can be in a relationship with them. Being honest. I don't think Nicole meant it that way, but that's the way the family has orchestrated it. Because if you notice, Ted's children consider themselves Duprees and not Richardsons.
Yeah.
Even though that's their last name. I mean, hell, Chelsea's children, I don't know if it's because Bill has a different hole, but like, it's just, I feel like anybody in that family married to Dupree, it's their world and they're living in it. I think that's probably what Bill got tired of. That's why he likes Haley, because Haley's living in his world now.
Well, yeah, because I mean, his children are Hamiltons. Naomi Hamilton, Chelsea Hamilton. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, and of course, that's what I was like. Well, at least I'm gonna sit there and see it throughout the week, hopefully. And Johnson says Beyond the Gates has finally stepped up.
I agree. And this is why, like for Smitty, I could tell you he's feeling like he's living in Martin's shadow. I would feel the same way too. Like, you gotta have your own life, your own identity, because this is why I can never date a celebrity. I'm sorry, I can't do it. I couldn't do it. If I find a celebrity, I gotta excuse myself. I just can't do it because I don't want to feel like I'm living in someone's shadow. That's not a fun feeling. Like as if you were like a background character.
But what if they are really? What if they are really hot though? What if they're really hot?
The hotness can only do so much. I'm gonna honestly, if they could be hot, but like I see beyond the hotness. I already see the process that's about to unfold. I can't see my name in a tabloid and then, seeing my name, the ex-husband or ex-boyfriend, like, and that's what I'm known for. I can't do that. I can't be a background character in my own marriage. That's
even if they're really hot though, like if they're you're a better man than me.
There's some people that look so hot, but you can feel the toxicness from a mile away. They have like a hot toxicness about them. They have a toxic hotness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you're a stronger man than me.
Jesse, that wouldn't bother me at all. Jesse, I can't live in someone's shadow. I can't live in someone's shadow in a relationship. I mean, like, I wouldn't want them to feel like they're living on my road either, but I need things to feel equal because I feel like that, like, I can feel the pressure on Smitty. I can feel that kind of pressure. I can only imagine how, like, for example, let's say Barack Obama had a son and his son was in his 30s or something. Like, I would not date that man.
Feel better on cherry ice cream, and you have a good night.
But like, if Barack Obama had a son in his 30s and he was gay, I would not date that man. I wouldn't. That's problems, and I'm gonna be living in your shadow.
But I mean, to be fair, I'm gonna make this assessment about you, Jess, and it's actually a compliment. It's not like an insult or anything like that.
Sounds like an insult is coming. Let's first
It's not as wow, great. No, but the thing is though,
now.
Well, damn, now you make me nervous to sit there and say it. I was just gonna sit there and say, like, the thing is, like, if Jess is not there dating a celebrity, Jess, in a sense, is a very strong woman, and I feel like she's kind of a star in her own right. So it's like I don't think that she's gonna be threatened by somebody, even if she's going out with somebody that's like super famous, because that's just how she sees herself.
I also threatened. You know what you're trying to say?
I'm just not just saying Jess is a strong woman, she's not gonna, just put it out there.
Because here's the thing, if I married someone and they're like, oh, like I want to be like a celebrity and do all this, I would be looking at them the same way Martin looked at Smitty when Smitty said I want to go back to journalism. So maybe that's why I understand Martin a little bit. Like not in that aspect, but just how that would apply to other things. That makes sense.
Now, as a DC, how would you want Willow to find out about Drew and Nina controlling her life from behind the scenes? But
Hmm.
that's what I'm saying, Jess. That's why I was like, that's just how you. That's just your energy.
Sean,
So
Sean, Sean. A program recommendation for DC is the television called Passion and Power. Episodes are available in English and on YouTube. Ooh, I love me good telenovela. Telenovelas got good looking folks. Yo!
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna lie. I did sit there and see like the first 15 minutes, like the intro. First of all, the intro is dope, and then you sit there, you actually sit there and see how they look, and you're just like, you like seriously, these are
Good
some
looking
fine
folks.
ass people.
Some good looking folks.
I didn't have the time, but you should definitely check it out. I will send you the link to that.
If it's a good show, it gets 5 episodes. My policy, guys, 5 episodes. It's my policy. I'm gonna evaluate from there. Jess says Smitty's a bit weak, so that's why he's coming back. Yes, he is. I definitely agree with that. He's a bit passive, and I think that's also what Martin was looking for. At the same time, I don't think because Martin's energy denotes to me he couldn't deal with someone holding that same kind of energy. Some people can't do that. Some people can't deal with someone who holds that same type of energy as them because they don't feel like a competition. Especially, here's the thing: men have egos. So now imagine how they put two men together. How do you put two men together, right? So in every relationship, there has to be a dominant and there has to be a submissive energy. It has to exist, or it will not work. It will not work. So,
Seriously, he's not wrong. I mean,
so
you should definitely sit there and watch it. I try to watch it. I just didn't have the time for it, but yeah, like I said, I'll send you the.
ooh, it's a good looking cast. Yeah, I'm up for it. I'm up for it. I'm watching El Señor de los Cielos, which is basically like the Spanish General Hospital. That whole cast is fine. Good God. But I'll definitely check it out. So Passion Power, definitely check it out, Jonathan. I know we can
I'll
do
send them
it.
the.
How are we on time right now for you?
Huh? Oh yeah, no, we're kind of like way past time.
Okay.
Like by like 15 minutes. We don't pass time like about 15 minutes, but like I said, I knew we were gonna wind up doing that.
And
So
it was so good. I don't think we noticed the time had elapsed so much, too.
I mean, it's actually funny though too, because like at first when you messaged me, I wasn't even before then. I was like, I don't know if I was actually gonna sit there and do a stream because again, like I didn't sleep, and it's not the sleeping, it's not the tired part. It was more of the mental part. But I was like, you know what? I get to sit there and hang out with my guy DC,
Mm-hmm.
and I know you've been having a rough week or whatever, and it's always good to sit there and have you on here. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'll do it. So no, I was like, I'll sit there and stream because it's not too often we get to sit there and do this.
I agree. I agree. And I have something to tell you afterwards. We for like 5-10 minutes. I can't
Yeah,
say.
of course, of course. But no, seriously, thank you again, DC, for coming through.
This
Like,
is a big
listen, I would, like I said, I wasn't even gonna sit there and stream it, except for DC was like, he wanted to be down, so I was like, all right, fuck it, I'll do it.
I
So
appreciate
you're just that
you
awesome,
having me on. I
seriously.
appreciate you just taking the time to let me to come on. So I know you were tired today. Thank you.
No, no, it's you're my guy, so Oh, and I'll end this with
DC, what do you think about Alexis choosing to give it to Ayla's blackmail and steal money from AIDS to protect the crazy troublemaking daughter? Um, I don't think Alexis should do it because Christina showed time again she's impulsive and she makes bad decisions, and so unfortunately she's really just enabling behavior. And I used to think that back then when people did that, they were loyal or they stand 10 toes down for their kids. But truth be told, you are always enabling behavior because like at the end of the day we're always teaching people what we will tolerate and always teaching people how to treat us. So Alexis wants to be conscious of like what kind of messages to send out to Christina in a sense because you're always trying to protect her from this world, but I think that constant protection, the bubble they want to keep putting her in, is actually making her more fragile as a result. So
I love Justice Con. Justice is like Alexis is dumb as hell. And thank you, Alyssa. Listen, it was good to sit there and have you on tonight because I haven't seen you too often. So every time I get to sit there and see you and talk to you, it's awesome. And by the way, check out Alyssa. She does her um wrestling streams on Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. I don't know what time that is Pacific. What time would that be Pacific? So it's 4 p.m. Eastern. What time would that, I'm asking you, DC, what time would that be in Pacific?
4 p.m. Eastern time would be, hold on, 12 p.m. 1 p.m.
I
Pacific.
think so.
Yeah, because they're 3 hours behind. 1 p.m.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
1 p.m.
Yeah. So
Wait,
if
1
you're a
p.m.
wrestler,
Pacific time. Wait, is she on Pacific time or Eastern time?
I mean, for me, it's Pacific time,
Oh,
so that's why I said 4 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so it's 1 p.m. Eastern. Okay.
I'm confused. I don't know what's happening here.
I was trying to figure out the time, and now I'm okay. Pacific. Thank you. So yes, it's
Okay, so I
1 p.m.
was right.
Pacific.
I said 12 or 1. Okay, I was right. Okay. She put. Okay, I think she put ET as a mistake. It's supposed to be PT. Okay. All right.
Okay. But yeah, definitely sit there and support Alyssa. And thank you, Black Mind. Thank you, everyone, for joining. This is fun.
Wait, quick question before we go. Why did you stop doing Beyond the Gates reviews for this whole past week and a half? I noticed that. Was it not getting the views, or is what happened?
Well, the views wasn't really there to sit there and justify it, and
Mm-hmm.
B&B was just easier.
It wasn't
B&B was just
producing.
easier.
I know how you.
Huh?
I know how you think Boss gonna pause. It wasn't producing.
Yes. That and again, it was just easier because
Okay.
it's like literally like 15 minutes. But yes, it wasn't producing yet.
Because I gotta feel like if it was given like a 1K plus, you would be doing them. I know you. I know you would keep it on.
Yes, yes. See, that's what I'm sitting there saying. Listen, after 4 or 5 years, me sitting there doing videos with DC knows me. So that is awesome. And
Because
Johnson
when I
says,
saw that, I was like, why are you still doing Beyond the Gates? Because I was looking for your Friday review. I was like, I didn't see it. I was like, Beyond the Gates must not have been producing the numbers he wanted. That's why they had to be cut. That's the only reason why. I was going to put the live stream.
it was funny. Jess asked the same question. I was like, yeah, the numbers didn't really justify it or whatever, and da 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 da. But yes,
I just realized something. GH had like their whatever anniversary last month.
really.
April 1st or 2nd. Is that their anniversary episode every year?
Oh yeah, I remember that. I fast forward through that shit, but yes, I do remember.
What was the episode? Like, I
I
totally
think it
forgot about
was. I don't remember. But to be fair, I did fast forward. I think it was doing like some sort of hospital thing or whatever. It was like the celebration of the hospital or something, or at least that's what the episode
that. Oh,
was.
maybe I missed it. Oh my god. Yo.
You didn't miss anything.
Yo.
You didn't miss anything. Oh,
Dang.
okay.
Okay.
Well, I'll definitely sit there and post it when you do come on now. And Johnson says, "Join us next time for another for another edition of Soap Chat with Albert Bostic." Thank you, Jonathan. Jonathan always sit there and close me out because he is the Michael Baldwin in the chat.
Oh, I gotta promote, guys. If you guys ever get the chance, head on over to DC Soap Sanctuary. If you guys like the content, what does it say? Like, share, comment, and subscribe, all that good stuff. I realize I gotta start promoting now.
Yes. And of course, I'm sorry, my bad. I mean, I think it was kind of obvious as far as like you having the channel, but yes, he also did sit there and put out a recent review of the Gates. Definitely check that out. Um, I will leave that link to that video in the description box below of this video. So just click onto that.
Okay.
Be in the description box. I would definitely do that.
I gotta something like a businessman like him. I gotta be like Albert.
No. Listen, I totally. The thing is, I'm not used to you actually promoting your channel. Otherwise, I would just did that
I'm
shit.
not used to it either. It feels weird. It's like boring. Like, share, comment, subscribe. What's so weird saying that?
Dominic says not out cutting beyond the gates like Forrester cutting hope for the future. I love that fucking comment. I had to. It wasn't justifying the effort.
Yeah, my reviews for that got really low. And I was thinking to myself, when I saw my last Beyond the Gates, I was like, man, if that was a GH review, I would be now to my 1,000 subscribers. Because GH reviews always blow up. I always can trust on them to blow up.
Surprisingly, B&B is actually next in line as far as like, yeah. I mean, just as for my channel personally, like if it's not GH, it's Beyond the Gates. I mean, it's Bold and Beautiful. Have a good night, Alyssa. It was great to see you. And Johnson says,
You brought Days back. You just start new reviews on Days again.
Oh yes. No, well, I mean, it was an interesting episode, so I was like, I had to. Sometimes it's like, what? Like, there's times that even if it's not going to be super great, it's like I have to do it because it was an interesting episode. Like,
Right.
even the Young and Restless, I did one because it was like, all right, this is good. I gotta sit there and talk about this, and it's mostly because most people don't usually watch or talk about in the chat Young and Restless, so I had to sit there and do it.
My God, you're right. I don't think anybody's even mentioned that tonight.
But yeah, let's not. I mean, I'm gonna definitely sit there and try to do another Beyond the Gates review at some point. But yes, definitely check out DC review. As I hear the cat.
Yeah, I had to pet her. She's demanding petting. She gets jealous on my Zoom.
That is awesome. Delmex says Beyond the Gates has its socials really spread out right now. They're keeping trending on X. They keep trending on X. Maybe I should sit there and post because sometimes I used to sit there and post, and this video is never gonna end. Sometimes I would sit there and after I do a review, I would sit there and post it on Twitter. Sit there and try to get people on Twitter to sit there and watch. So maybe I should do that on Beyond the Gates and see what happens.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
All right, everyone. Have a great night. Thank you, Dolomedics. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Kyrie's, and thank you everyone for just joining. And again, thank you, DC.
Yes, it's a lot of fun. I loved it. This was really good tonight. I really loved it. It's fun. This is really good.
Listen, it's well. I mean, we've been doing this for like about 4 or 5 years. So, like, if it wasn't fun, we would have been like, yeah, we're not doing this shit anymore. So,
wait, quick question tonight, Albert.
Yeah.
Last question, and then we'll go.
All right.
If you were to compare yourself to a character from Beyond the Gates, who would it be?
Oh. God damn. I would sit there and probably say a little bit of dog. I would sit there and say a little bit of dog. Yeah, I have an addictive nature to certain things. I would sit there and say that's what I'm going to sit there and say. So I would sit there and say if I had to relate to somebody, it would be dog.
Doug. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not going to sit there and really open that until we go into the members thing, but like I would sit there and say dog.
Okay.
It'll be dog. So yeah, it'll be dog.
Okay.
What about you?
For me, I'm gonna say I think it's between. My God, I feel like I have 3 people in mind. You can tell me which one you think it's most. I would say it's either Jacob, Andre, or Martin. I'm trying to figure out which between those 3.
All right, we're gonna have to talk about that after because I want to. I mean, after this is over because I want to like hear the. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to, but
no, because I think I could see the Martin, but then sometimes I see certain elements of Jacob, and maybe because I want to be a Jacob, but am I a Jacob or am I really a Martin? I don't know. Besides the controlling, abusive, mostly abusive part, guys. That's where y'all are going with this. I'm like, nah, I know why DC's setting up a Martin.
You know they're going to sit there and say that shit anyway, right?
I know, right? They are. They definitely are. I know.
I'm just Jacob, Martin, and
or hell, even Tomas. Probably Tomas even.
No, you said Jacob, Martin. It was just Jacob and Martin.
Martin, Andre.
He says Andre. I could see him getting used then counseling a rich on type.
Maybe I've counseled a rich uncle type. Anyways, let's move on.
I'm still just okay. You know what?
You still what? What happened?
I'm just wondering, like, how are you like Andre and how are you like Martin? You don't have to go into specifics. Like for me, I would sit there and say again, I have an addictive nature, so like I can see myself being a little bit like Dom. I didn't say what my addiction was. I just sit there and say like it could be an addiction. So,
I would say Andre in the sense of okay, Martin in the sense of being the perfectionist. I think in that aspect, I think I do have that nature sometimes try to be perfectionist, which it doesn't always work out that way because sometimes the way I see on Martin talk, I'm like, man, that's not what I would say, right? Besides the controlling Smitty part, guys.
Put
And
that as a
then
disclaimer.
with Andre, it's the part of me that can be very, okay, I'm not going to use that word, I'm going to use a different word instead, very illustrious with my nature.
Okay.
And then there's Jacob because I feel like that's kind of part of me too. So maybe it could be all three. But I'm still trying to figure out who exactly that nature will be. But I could kind of see that. But maybe it could probably be Martin the most.
But why Jacob though?
I think Jacob because I definitely see myself as the guy next door, you know, the good guy. But then there's that Andre side to me. So,
That I can see. That I can see.
it's giving Vicky and Nicky Smith.
But see, that's the thing about Jacob though. Jacob could be the good guy until you push him too far.
Yeah.
Because then I've seen Jacob be like, even tell his wife, like, listen, I'm not sleeping on the couch. I'm not doing this. I gotta sit there and deal with an asshole in the morning. Like he didn't snap, but he made it very clear, like, you're gonna push me to a point, and then I'm gonna be like, I'm standing up for myself.
Yeah.
So I can see that part in you.
Like with Martin, that's why I would say he's young in a sense, but he's like such an old head, and I feel like in some ways I'm young, but sometimes I feel like I'm also an old head too. Sometimes because I have these very ideas of certain things that I want. Martin is horrible. I relate to him. I relate to being close to your grandparents and being a little spoiled. The spoiled part, Martin, I can't relate to, but I can relate to the part of Martin where I'm very close to everyone in my family, even though I'm technically like the youngest son, right? So I'm more close to my parents, right? And my grandparents. And so I feel like I can relate to Martin in that aspect because I feel like I'm almost like the older brother when I'm actually the younger brother. So I can relate to Martin in that aspect. And I feel like the way he is in his relationship with Smitty is like, I feel like in some ways I'd probably be that way. Not emotionally abusive, guys.
Yeah, just make sure that's a disclaimer right there.
Putting that out there. I got to keep putting that out there. So yes. Now, who I would date out of all three of those, I think it'll be Andre. I like Jacob, but he's just. I feel like if I do one wrong thing, I'm gonna get judged. So I go Andre. And Martin
I mean,
is just too.
to be fair, it's YouTube, so you're gonna be judged either way.
Martin would be too much too. I feel like it'd be too rigid, and so I need flexibility. And so that's what I realized about myself. I feel like even though I'm a very conservative, dressy, up kind of type. I need someone who's a little bit free spirit, but not too much of a free spirit though. It can't be too wild, but just enough. Andre gives just enough to work
To
with.
keep it interesting.
And keep it interesting. And Jacob, I like Jacob, but I feel like if you say one wrong move, one wrong word, he'll be looking at you like, "Oh, you think like that?" And so I just can't have that. You know what I'm saying? I need a little flexibility. Because I feel like with Jacob, you'd have to be super perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that in the sense, his dad is a cop and has to sit there and live up to a certain legacy, kind of like his dad in a sense.
Yeah.
Or like maybe in his shadows a little bit. I can see that.
Yeah. Okay, we got to get you off this live, though, right? Get you off this live.
Yes. No. Listen, no, this was fun. I mean, like I said, I made sure that we had enough time or whatever to do this because when we start talking, it's like, all right, we're going to end in like 15 minutes, and then it's like, 45 minutes later on, and we're like, well, it was that shit didn't happen.
Yeah, we kind of actually had some casual talks on here tonight than we more usually do. It was kind of nice.
Yeah, well,
it wasn't how backstage stuff, but it was something.
Yes, it was. But that's just how we do, because we've been doing this together for so long. It's like there's a certain rhythm with us.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good, Queen Janet. Damn, I actually feel kind of bad.
J coming at exactly at the end.
Even though the end was supposed to be like maybe 15, 20 minutes ago.
I know, right?
Well, thank you, Janet. Thank you. Definitely watch the replay though. Like this was good. When you get some time, a little bit of time, definitely sit there and watch the replay though.
You should
And thank you,
repost
Janet.
it sometimes.
Huh?
What do you think? Like reposting it in like the community tabs, like for certain lives you do.
No, I never actually did that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's actually smart. I'll do that tonight.
If you want to do it.
I mean, I was gonna do a post anyway, so I could just add that on there.
Okay, perfect. Okay. All right.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you. All right, we're gonna sit there and head out, but we will definitely sit there and see you in the next video, and definitely check out DC's video. I will put that in the community tab as well. So y'all can sit there.
Blow up now. That thing gonna blow up.
Well, we gotta sit there and look out for each other. So
like Halle Bailey, you're like Beyonce. You know how Beyonce was like promoting Halle Bailey all the time. Chloe Bailey and all them, They didn't pop though.
Yes. But yes, y'all have a great night, and we'll sit there and see y'all in the respective streams and videos. Thank you again, Alyssa. Yep, 305, rocking it.
305.
Thank you, Janet. And thank you again, Alyssa, for being here tonight. It's always amazing to see you. And everyone else, you know who we are. I will see y'all in the next stream. Laters.